It is 6 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Baltimore Ravens announced yesterday they decided to release kicker Justin Tucker in what general manager Eric DeCosta called a football decision. The news comes months after reports that he was accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by over a dozen massage therapists. A five-time All-Pro, 35-year-old Tucker has played his entire 13-year career with Baltimore. The Nashville Predators and general manager Barry Trotz have made their decision on second-year head coach Andrew Brunette, saying in a press conference that Brunette will return for next season. Trotz said, quote, Andrew Brunette is a good young coach. That's why I hired him. He needs to add a lot of tools to his tool belt. Andrew is going to work hard to find the solution. Speaking of the Predators, it turns out the odds were not in their favor last night with the NHL lottery draft. The Preds had the third best odds to select number one overall at 11.5%, but they ended up with the fifth overall pick. The New York Islanders, who had the 10th best odds at just 3.5%, they ended up winning the lottery, and they will have that first pick in the draft, which is June 27th and 28th in Los Angeles. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooter's Coffee, and it is live on a Tuesday morning, a brisk and foggy Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. Visit a locally owned location of Scooter's Coffee near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. That will take you out of a fog immediately. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Not only are we going to start one series on the show this morning, we're just going to start two. We're in a series kind of mood on this Tuesday morning. The hypothetical series of what-ifs in the NFL for this upcoming season will begin locally here with your Tennessee Titans. We're talking SEC spring football at 9:20. Chris Lee, Vandy 247 will join us. We're going to do every single SEC team in addition to the Vols because we talk about them every single week, and scout every team in the SEC. We're an SEC melting pot here in Nashville. Austin Price, of course, at 8:20. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. It is Tuesday, May the 6th. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
El Seis de Mayo.
Seis de Mayo, yeah. A lot of people waking up with tequila hangovers today.
Or not. Yeah.
Or not. I'm not one of those
people. Probably still asleep right now.
That's very
I had
true.
somebody tell me yesterday I do Mediterranean food on Cinco de Mayo, and then you go to Mexican places the day after.
Probably
you zig
smart.
while everyone else is zags.
Yeah.
No doubt
Absolutely.
about it. We were intentional about it yesterday at my house. I'll be completely honest with you. I thought about, all right, we'll go to a Mexican restaurant earlier in the day. It's gonna be packed. Like it's like Black Friday almost in a sense. While like going to a Mexican restaurant on Cinco de Mayo, it's make the decision early or don't go at all. Is the way I look at it. We doubled down on it. We didn't go at all to any restaurant. Okay. But we sat home, and I was just like, you know what? Let's make the most Americanized Mexican food we possibly can. Listen.
Chicken, queso, and rice?
Yeah. Quesadilla with cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
we made pretty much just like the corn tacos that you get out the box with some ground beef, some shredded lettuce, and salsa and cheese. And I was just like,
the job done.
Heck yeah.
You know what? Job done here, okay? We don't have to fight a crowd. We ain't got to do any of that. RJ ain't got to drive us home from getting margs.
Exactly.
We're at that point.
You could have even made your own margs if you wanted to.
Could with the kid driving. Hey, long as Miles is in the back seat, we good to go.
Hey, we're growing jalapenos for the first time.
Yeah.
We have a little deck, and the first jalapeno appeared yesterday. Very excited for a homemade jalapeno smoked, not smoked. Well, actually, could do smoked.
Yeah,
I do have the blowtorch.
Yeah.
Spicy margarita.
Ooh,
That-
I'm
Yesterday would have been the day to do it, but we'll invite everyone over.
That sounds
We'll
good.
have a time.
You know why I'm a little jealous of that situation?
that?
Because here you are about to prosper off of your green thumb, and I just let my lemon
nothing?
trees die.
It's tough.
You know what I'm saying?
So you had a garden?
No, I just had those 2 trees. I had those 2 trees for the longest.
Your thumb is no longer green.
And it was not. I was wheeling them in and out of the house in the wintertime.
Dang.
And I ain't have any place indoors I can grow them. And I wasn't sure if the artificial light was actually helping them, you know what I'm saying, grow and everything. And they just died on me. I'm still sick behind it because I should be flourishing in Meyer lemons right now. I
Right?
should.
And now you said it's a green thumb, now it's a brown thumb.
I'm telling you, I think Corey Curtis has a lemon tree also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who
Yes.
grow their own stuff.
I'm hot.
We've always been a tomato family.
Jalapeno.
I know.
Tomatoes homegrown are really good if you
Very
do them
easy.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm a little hot on myself. I'm growing a garden next year.
Look,
Screw that.
it's
You can
not
have
my
that.
green thumb. It is my lovely fiance's green thumb. Peyton is the mastermind behind all of this. So I take no credit. I give all credit to her anytime I can.
By the way, also, too, Keisha won't allow me to go to speaking of like the relationship situations and just event, she's not going to allow me to go to the grocery store with her no more.
Really?
Why?
What's that?
Would you spend too much money?
I act like a kid in there.
I, for one, am
Getting
shocked.
things he doesn't
That
need.
Ramon Foster. Fun-loving Ramon
I
Foster.
just-
It's like, oh, can we get this?
Yeah,
Throw it
exactly.
in the cart. Ramon, did you just throw extra Wheaties in the cart?
Every aisle.
We have ice cream at home. We need more ice cream.
Listen, and I'm very conscious about like calorie intake and stuff, even more so now. It's like
I'm
there's
trying
too
to be
much
too.
sugar and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's what I'm
Right.
saying. So I want to walk up and down the cereal aisle and just look at the
Jeez.
boxes.
It is kind of fun, though.
Yes, 100%. And I see now as an adult, they do put the sweet cereal below.
do.
For the kids. And then I want to walk up the ice cream aisle and just look like, why would somebody eat that? Like, I'm judgy as hell. You want to tell, well, I'm going to tell y'all the biggest judgment I had yesterday at the grocery store, okay? It was, we're checking out and the displays up front with all the candy and stuff. Y'all, nobody told me buying 4 York peppermint patties.
Oh, the big ones?
No. The regular size one. The circle
this
ones.
big?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Size of a baseball, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit smaller. Guess how much 4 of those cost? 4.
$10.
See, the thing is, where I would want to know where you were shopping, which would
K.
impact it.
Rogers.
But we're not. Okay, I was going to
K.
say we're not
Rogers.
going to give free shout outs.
No,
Well, you
K.
didn't say
Rogers.
it. You didn't say it.
K. Roger is what we were.
I mean, everyone knows who you're talking
It's a new grocery store in town, right?
K.
K.
Roger.
All right, so four. How big are these things?
They're the regular
They're like
standard.
this
Major and
big, Will.
peppermint patties.
Yeah, peppermint
Baseball?
patties. A little smaller than a baseball.
Are they
4 of
are they
them.
individually packaged?
Yes,
or are
they
they
are.
in
Yes.
that? See, that's where
Yes,
they get
they
you.
are.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
I would say they're what, like $6 or $7?
For
$6
4?
for 4 of them.
I said 10.
Get the hell out of here.
Huh?
It was $5.
Yeah.
That
That's a
is
steal
way
of a
too
deal.
much. Hell
It's
no.
a steal of a deal for a peppermint pie.
Oh, I
baby.
was going to say if they were all in the same packaging, it would be less because then it
No.
would count as like a combo deal.
Ramon's just
But,
angry at that
Y'all are the
$5.
problem.
Let's say it's $6. I'm only $1 in front
I'd
of
be
you.
like, steal of a deal. Let's
It's that
go.
thin, man. And it's the size of a cracker.
Well, nothing
A little
in
bit
nothing
bigger.
in today's world is like less than $1 each.
I know. That's why I'm just.
4.
Unless you're selling like individual Reese's
Those
cups.
things should be like 69 cents a
tremendous.
piece.
Look, we're all accustomed to the nowadays, which is everything is way overpriced.
Yeah,
but look,
exactly.
and see, this is why Keisha won't let me go to the grocery store. She was like, she was talking. She was like, see, this is how I know you don't deserve to be in here. And you shouldn't come to the grocery store with me. I was like, what? Because I'm cost conscious about 4 peppermint patties.
Well, I think I know what our first RKW draft is going to be, though. It's going to be best
Oh,
cereals.
yeah.
That's serious. Let's do it.
Yes. Oh, my
I couldn't-
gosh.
Could not believe it. Though,
I ate
y'all.
so
Some
many
Cheerios
sugar.
this morning.
Did you have
Did
cereals?
you?
I
Yeah,
had
Power Rank,
You're so nice and
top
basic.
tier cereals go.
top tier. Captain Crunch #1 for me.
I never was a Captain Crunch person.
Love it.
Fruity Pebbles.
Just called him by his government name, Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch.
It did.
Never was Fruity Pebbles either.
Lucky Charms.
All I ever did was multigrain Cheerios, as bland as my personality. No, you put some fruit in there. It's great.
I did every sugary thing
explains
you could
everything.
explain.
Multigrain. No, I couldn't do sugar. I was running 70 miles a week in high school. Truly.
That's fair.
I had Wheaties, the athlete cereal. Loved Wheaties. Loved Wheaties.
My go-to now is
Honey Nut
probably
Cheerios, good.
Frosted Flakes
Really?
That was,
so
Yeah.
much
yeah,
sugar.
that was good.
or Cinnamon
Honey
Toast
Bun
Cinnamon
Crunch.
Toast Crunch.
But
Never
I get-
a sugar breakfast
I
person.
get the almond milk with it now, though. Phenomenal.
Oh, well, that
I bet
cancels it out.
yeah, that makes it all better. All better.
It's all about balance.
It's like having It's like having a mocha with non-fat whipped cream. It's like, well, I mean, if you wanted to go with the slender option, you could have just gone black coffee. But
Like
once
what
you
my
go
wife
mocha,
says every time we go out to
Steely,
eat. I'm going to get a salad with a side of fries.
That's what I do.
a salad with fried chicken
That's
on it.
what I do.
That's a Pittsburgh
each other
thing, though,
out,
too. It's your Pittsburgh steak
Brilliant.
salad right there. Is you get steak
Yeah.
and fries in your salad.
That's
Oh.
perfect.
It is phenomenal.
Keep your fries on the side of your plate, dang it. You are really good at putting fries where fries have no business being.
No, see, Steely, Stony Keely going to have us jump him is what we're going to have to happen. He talking about hot take.
So he said,
Cereal.
on YouTube, Stoney Keeley says, hot take cereal is for children. It's 100% right.
We'll fight you for that.
100% correct.
Yeah.
I've not had cereal
I haven't had it in a
years.
while.
I have.
Yeah, I
Probably
haven't
since
had it
high
in a while.
school, have not had cereal.
I know.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm bringing in some stuff.
We have a cereal morning. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
A cereal bar. We could
I'm
have our own
telling you.
cereal bar. I mean, we've got chairs now
Who's
and a
buying-
table back
Who's
here.
buying the cereal?
Hey, listen.
Put it on
I'll,
the-
just
put it
my
on the
Cheerios
station.
from home.
I'll see if I can borrow somebody food stamps and get us
There we
some.
go.
I got y'all 100%.
What?
I mean,
old
cereal's
school, right?
included in that,
I ain't
right?
gonna get nobody food
This is the
stamps.
same Stoney who said last week, and as they come to Nashville this weekend, he said, retweeted someone who said, I don't like the Savannah Bananas. Sports shouldn't be about fun little games. It should be about hate.
Let me find out. Let me find out.
Stoney is on the right side of history in all
That's
things.
funny.
Oh, please.
All things.
Stoney,
Sports are about hate, not funny little games.
Enjoy
little
life,
I love
Stoney.
it.
What we
It's so
doing here,
funny.
man?
615-737-1045 this morning as we stream the show live on 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. There was a GM in the NFL who had a perfect explanation on why his NFL draft strategy has been so good for years. We'll hear that audio. Plus, that same GM made a pretty big move in the NFL yesterday. We'll talk about it next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. When the heat rises outside, your home's air conditioning shouldn't let you down. The Lee Company team is here to help keep you cool and your system running at its best with award-winning AC services. Whether you need a quick repair, seasonal maintenance, or want to upgrade to a new unit, Lee Company gets the job done right. Available 24/7. Schedule your visit today at leecompany.com. And hey, the best time to schedule service like that, the best time to make sure that your AC unit is working the way it's supposed to, when it's a little bit cooler here in Middle Tennessee, because you and I both know in a very short amount of time, weather will be back up in the 80s, the 90s again, and you're going to be sitting there heating up in your own home. Over 80 years of experience, Lee Company has been trusted since 1944. It's the folks that I've always trusted. Open 24/7. Give them a call, 615-567-1000, or check them out online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. RKW kicking off your Tuesday morning, and glad you decided to spend it with us here on 104.5 The Zone. You can stream us live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Boulding. As always, we are brewed up by Scooters Coffee. 6 subscribers away from 15,000 on 104.5 The Zone TV's YouTube channel.
Let's go. Let's do it this morning.
Y'all. Do it right.
Try to be the one. Send us a screenshot.
Yeah.
I can't promise you anything, but I'd like to.
Man, we can.
We'll give you a box of cereal.
We got. Hey, listen.
People will hold you to that if you promise.
I'm okay. I'll do it. I will do it.
True. That's true.
I'll do it.
And you know what? They want the family size, too.
Somebody's going to go unsubscribe and then resubscribe. That way they can be the 15,000
Yeah, exactly.
person. This might be more challenging than I thought. Never mind.
You don't understand how much people like free stuff. Free stuff gets the people going,
This is
Kayla.
so true.
Especially if they know it's from your dollars.
This is why Rupert would just decide to do some kind of challenge when we get to a milestone. And then promise nothing to the person, so that's on me.
No
We'll
doubt,
figure something out.
man. Well, good morning, good people. I'm glad to hear everybody is tequila free this morning. Let's go.
Yeah, you got it out of your system.
Got it out.
So Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta did an interview on the Lounge podcast, a Ravens show, and laid out a very interesting way to do the NFL draft. I thought this was interesting to me, guys. It's something we could dive more into because I think it sounds a lot like what Chad Brinker wants the Titans way to be, as a draft and develop organization. Maybe there are some differences within this. Really interesting stuff from Ravens GM Eric DeCosta here.
For me, an important study called The Loser's Curse by Richard Thaler, who's an economist, and Cade Massey, who's a professor at Penn now. And the idea of it basically is that teams simply don't do any better drafting than anyone else. You're all going to be about the same, right? So the idea that you're going to trade up, and basically that the draft is inherently sort of a luck-driven process. Now, I don't believe that, but there is an element of luck involved. So if you think about that, and if you accept that premise, then you're trading up for a player that you think is better than anyone else, right? And you think that team's going to draft him.
Right.
But most of the time, they're not going to draft that player. And so what we've seen over the years is that player is probably going to fall to you. Could he be selected? Yes. But there's no guarantees that player is going to be better than the player that you end up getting.
Yeah.
So they call it the loser's curse because the team at the top, it's like, oh, he's got the first pick in the draft. Well, you know what? The player that they select, we've seen this many times. There's no guarantees that player is going to be better than the player that gets selected at 25 or 30 in the first round. And so all things being equal, I know I'm doing a lot of talking about this, but it's a passion of mine. All things being equal, right? The fact that no one really knows who's going to be better than anyone else, the only rational approach is to get more at-bats, is to pick more. Right. And so what we've seen over the last 5 years, but especially this year, everyone seems to be drafting players, the same players. So it's like going to a restaurant with 20 of your best friends, and there's 20 things on the menu, but all 20 of you are ordering one of the same 3 entrees. Right? You're all getting the steak and you're all getting the pasta. Maybe a few guys are getting the crab cakes, but nobody's going after the vegetarian option, and nobody's getting the lamb. Everybody's eating the same things. That's kind of what the draft has become in some ways. And I don't know if that's because of the incredible media coverage, all the so-called draft experts, right? All the people that are putting up mock drafts and consensus boards and things like that. But for me, the idea of having more picks means I have the chance of getting more players.
Eric DeCosta, Ravens general manager. It sounds really simple, maybe when it's laid out that direction. I promise you it's not that simple in practice, but I think it's interesting.
It is very interesting. I do think a lot more teams are going to try to subscribe to give me more picks, give me more picks. I saw a post yesterday that showed the Eagles 2026 NFL draft selections and how many they had gotten from other teams, and those when a guy leaves in free agency, they get those compensatory picks back and stuff like that. It is a fascinating approach, I think, to one, try to hold on to you guys as long as they can or until their contract expires so you can get those compensatory picks. And also, how can I leverage myself? I know Howie Roseman gets the the rap or the reputation as often one of those very staunch negotiators, one of those guys that want to get you as many times as he possibly can. And you kind of heard him over their draft coverage, which has been going up and down social media too, in the draft room, how he's calling everybody just to see if he can get more pick. You don't want to move up? I tried. Like, he's that type of guy to give themselves more opportunities. And if you're trying to be a really good team, it may be a quick way to build up. And if you are already good, well, to continue to get more cheap labor.
And he's right. I mean, if you look at what the Ravens, in terms of how many picks they had this year, 11 picks this year, 9 last year. I think the least they've had in the last 3 years is 6, but then 11 in 2022. So they've been picking at a big rate in terms of, what he's saying. And that's kind of what Mike Borgonzi has preached with this team and Chad Brinker is, hey, we want to stack up as many picks every year as we can. And this year, I think, might have been the one small exception, even though they did do some work trading down in the second round to get some more picks, which I think really helped them out, ending, I believe, with 9 guys, right? Is that correct?
Yep.
But I think you do look at that first round pick and the number 1 overall pick, and you do think in the back of your mind, we had a chance to possibly even go get a bigger haul. That just goes to show how much I think they do think it's the right pick with Cam Ward, because I do feel like Mike Borgonzi practices what he preaches.
Well, it does feel like maybe quarterback, right, is the one exception to this strategy. But in a way, like, you don't want it to be. You want to have a one-size-fits-all approach for everything, but there is a level of desperation that requires you to take the quarterback when you feel like you've got the quarterback staring you right in the face.
Yeah.
And then when he talks about there's an element of luck to it, like the element of luck to it was Joe Milton beating the Bills the last game of the season and allowing you the chance. Sure. Because I think if the Titans were in the position to maybe take Abdul Carter, or heck, even to take Travis Hunter, the Titans are in a very different world if the let's say Patriots are picking number 1. Yeah. Yep. I mean, what if somebody offered you that haul for Travis Hunter?
It's probably gone.
You would have moved back.
Yeah.
And Mason Graham would have been playing next to Jeffrey Simmons.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I do think there's, again, like we always talk about, there's a quarterback draft to it and there's a regular draft to it. As long as you believe that quarterback is one of the, top 10 players still in the whole draft. And I think they believe Cam is near the top, if not the top.
What did they get Lamar at real quick?
Lamar 31 or 32?
I think it was 32.
32. Yeah,
wow.
I think
it was the last pick that would have
Wow.
kept them with a 5th-year option.
Sure was. They moved up to get him at 32, if I'm not mistaken. You see it yet?
Yeah, 32 overall in
Okay.
2018.
But
In Philly.
I don't have a pushback. I just have a discussion to be had about the everybody's eating the same dishes. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think the meals are the same. Maybe we're all eating steak. Maybe we're all eating the crab cakes, as he said. But I think sometimes the portions, depending on if you want bigger, let's say everybody's feasting here. You want a bigger portion if you can. You don't want to pay $60 for a steak and you get a 4-ounce. And that guy pays $60 and he get a 12-ounce. Because I'm looking at a situation more than anything as far as like who's eating the same the same dishes. Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson went 1 and 2. They're both steaks, but like one definitely costs more than the other.
Right.
And I think we saw the cost of one be way more than the other, even in that 2022 draft.
Skirt steak versus nice filet.
Like a nice ribeye. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everybody looked at Aiden Hutchinson as the ribeye.
Yeah.
And we looked at Trayvon Walker as the skirt steak, to your point, or the flank steak. Either one can be cooked well. If you put it in the right condition, throw some peppers and onions or tortillas on that flank steak, we're good to go.
It has its place.
But Jacksonville wasn't ready for flank steak. They didn't have the tortillas, the peppers, the onions, anything else. They needed to go after the ribeye. And I think the decisions to be made sometimes are a little bit more muddied than they are for other organizations. I think Trayvon Walker going to Detroit would have been really good for them still, considering what their makeup is. I don't know if you flip those around, Aiden Hutchinson probably would have been. It makes sense, but it doesn't at the same sense for me.
Can I add something to that too? Where does then a team like, I think they separate themselves too from the normal, menu. Where does a team like Philly fit this in terms of how their draft process goes with they're like doing the experimental meal, right? Like sometimes they go and get the guys that will not fit in a lot of other organizations with some of the past moves they've made. That's an interesting way to look at it too. Is like some teams can afford to gamble because they've been able to do it before, where other teams, I don't think that some of those players would ever fit or be able to get to the level they need to in some other markets.
Yeah, I think Philly with Jeffrey Lurie as their owner just have such a safety net because they have so much money in cash to spend to kick the can down the road with the salary cap and acquire just all pro talent all across their roster.
Sure.
Because they picked the top 15 D tackle in Jordan Davis and also picked up his option too.
And this year an inside linebacker with their first round pick. Like they do the highest floor option in terms of football player. Not talking about maybe the person sometimes, but in terms of the football player, they take the high floor player knowing that if that guy isn't elite, we've got Brandon Graham. Like we've got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley that we're all paying at once because, again, like we did the salary cap math and kind of the salary cap 101 at the beginning of free agency, like they have got the cash on hand to pay out major bonuses at the beginning of contracts, put void years at the back of contracts, kick the can down the road to 2029, 2030. Like their cap in 2030 is awful. Awful. Like they are in terrible. They're in like New Orleans Saints cap hell times 10. Yet they did that though with players they know are going to A, be healthy and B, fit who they are as an organization. So then if you can re-extend those guys, that's redundant. Yeah. If you can extend those guys, then you kick that dead cap charge further down the road. And as the cap gets bigger, you're basically buying from future caps now.
Sure. And they're winning now, too. Like, they just won a Super Bowl, right? So
when you have that level of cash, you can do anything, and you've got a safety net. You can do anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, relative to other teams, like, they have got such a bigger margin for error than anyone else in the NFL.
I would think it's a little bit deeper than that, though, too. I think it's simply because of the culture that they've somewhat set that anybody that walks into that locker room got to fall in line.
I agree.
I think with some teams, like I said, I mentioned like Jacksonville and Trayvon Walker. Like Trayvon Walker was expected to, as a young guy, to come in and reset their culture. Like, put them on a map. You're the number 1 overall pick. You need to go be a demon out here. I would almost say kind of like Mario Williams did for the Houston Texans. He, to me, was able to somewhat set them up as a culture. Where I don't think Trayvon Walker, we're talking about picking the same stakes. That's not the same stake as Aiden Hutchinson to me.
Well, and two, like you can pay to keep your people to help build that culture.
You can. Yes. And one of the things that we dealt with when I played in Pittsburgh was this. Everybody that kind of like got signed or came in, there was so much to that point of like culture and older guys that you had no choice but to fall in line until those younger guys grew up. Now, I'll be honest, somewhat kind of slip of the rope a little bit when certain guys got into different roles and became bigger stars and whatnot. But there's so much. What happens is when you lose that DNA through change, right? And I feel like that's where a little bit what the Titans are in a sense, like trying to find what your DNA is going to be as a team, and then you get to the point to where we're talking about, just pick one. We're going to be good regardless. And I think that's why Zeitler is such a big free agency pickup to figure out this is what it looked like if he is healthy and successful this year.
I think Pittsburgh does things their way too. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is another organization that doesn't.
Rams,
right,
are doing it again. Yes, I agree with you. It's a few Minnesotas getting to that point. And I don't ever remember them being like that.
You have to set down a foundation of good, young, drafted, homegrown talent in order to then branch off of different ways to sustain that success. And that is what the John Robinson regime couldn't do. Yeah. That this regime will try to do once they build it is sustain the success, because that's a different kind of math. It's like going from, algebra to calculus. Like, there's still maybe calculus to statistics. Like, there's still challenges to it. It's still hard, but it's different being able to do that. I think the one thing the Titans have never really had recently is the compensatory picks. And those projections are put out this past week or this past weekend of teams that are projected to receive 4 picks.
Wow.
Like, think about what Chad Brinker talks about. And I want to have, 10 picks in the top 100 over the next couple of years. Like, the Ravens next season will get 2 fifth-round picks and 2 seventh-round picks projected from losing Patrick McCarry, Brandon Stevens, Malik Harrison, Josh Jones, Tre'Davious White. So they added DeAndre Hopkins. That doesn't cancel out any of it. Pittsburgh next year is projected to get a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick because they lost Dan Moore, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, James Daniels, Dante Jackson, and Najee Harris. Now, the big move they made was at the trade market, bringing in DK Metcalf. There wasn't a big free agent signing that canceled out the compensatory picks that you were going to be due. So, again, like, you talk about more picks and trading back. Okay, well, then you get more bullets to fire. And then when those players either stay, A, you've got a player that knows your culture, that's homegrown, that's good, or B, you have a player that leaves you for somewhere else, but you get that pick back.
Right.
And that's the part of it that the Titans have not done enough of in previous regimes is when they've let those guys go, they've then spent big in free agency to cancel out the compensatory picks coming their way, or they've just kept the people that haven't met that ceiling again.
It's more the latter to me.
And so that's the Eric DaCosta, that's the draft and develop. And I wanted to play this because I think for fans that maybe like understand there's kind of a different way of doing business here, but haven't fully like heard it laid out that simply, like that is draft and develop. That's drafting guys, and then if you keep them, great. You've got veteran leaders. If they leave, well, then you get more picks back again, and then you can move up when you love a player. You can move back again. Then you got 12 draft picks. You're sitting there like, wow, we got a full rookie minicamp, things like that. So anyway.
Is there, real quick on that point about like picking the right substance for your dinner, like was Caleb Farley the right pick to be made?
No,
here?
hell no.
Right.
No, that was the obvious choice of no on that, Ramon.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe there's one or two people that said, yeah, absolutely, that was the right choice. There was no way. That was a red flag
I was wrong,
all over it.
but I liked it at the time. It was risky considering you just missed on Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah.
I remember saying that in the moment, at least, of like, you better be sure that this guy's going to be good because Isaiah Wilson was nothing for your football team, except for a couple of extra point protections.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. All right, I'm looking back at the
He was
classes.
like the vegetarian.
Oh, my God. Yeah, then nobody picked
and those things are tricky because you are supposed to view these things in a vacuum.
Yep.
Right.
And Mike Bergonzi talked about that. Like, what's happened in previous regimes is not my problem. Like, I'm going to do what's best for this football team now. So, yeah, like it was the wrong pick, obviously, but it's hard to think, oh, we've got to overcorrect because we did something wrong last year. Like, you get yourself in trouble doing that, too.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
615-737-1045. Robert in Nashville is first up this morning. Hey, Robert.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Good morning.
Good morning.
My phone got me hungry this morning talking about ribeyes and flank statesmen. You know,
I'm right there with you.
I always see him in Kiki's in Hendersonville, so
Yes, sir.
great brunch spot. So I wanted to piggyback on what you said, Ramon. That is so true. And that's why it's so important for a team like the Titans to get it right in the draft, because a lot of times what happens is, and you guys mentioned, I was going to say that he stole my thunder, when you have 3 drafts in a row, when you had Wilson and I don't know what order, Farley, and then you traded A.J. Brown for the wide receiver.
Traylon. Yeah,
Traylon Burks. This is why we're 3 and 14 this year. When we fail at drafting, when we don't get guys to do that, then we have to, like you just said, come back and try to overcompensate in the free agency. Then you lose the compensatory picks. We have to get it right in the draft because I love Nashville. I moved here from Indiana, and I love Nashville. But a lot of these young guys don't, want to come to Nashville. They rather go someplace else. I think one of the things that I've always said, and I get in arguments with people, is because we don't have an NBA team. If we had an NBA team that would then allow, some guys to want to come here to hang out with the NBA guys and all that, that's a big thing. So we have to get the draft right because when you looked at it in 1999, we had some first-round picks that took us to the Super Bowl. We have to be able to get that first-round pick and the second-round pick right for us to be great. All right, I'm going to hang up and listen to you guys' response to that.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate the call.
It's interesting perspective coming from Indy, though, too, just on the idea of NBA team and football players, like, hanging out. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of something to do. I wonder, is that because he's from Indiana in a sense, though, too? Because
might have a different perspective on that.
Yeah, different perspective on that.
Because people are coming here now.
People are more concerned with the taxes.
Yeah,
than if there's a basketball team.
Bingo.
Yeah.
There's athletes, y'all, here that aren't even playing here for any Nashville teams.
Yeah, no.
And there is a ton that live here in the off season.
For sure.
a ton.
That may have been a different conversation 20 years ago. Maybe in 2005. Hey, or can we attract top veterans here, free agents here, because this is a smaller town? I think this is a place where people want to be now. So I would disagree with that.
He just re-brought up the Isaiah, Caleb, and Traylon draft. Yeah.
That's tough trifecta.
It's bad.
That's a tough trifecta.
That's why you are where you are today.
It's bad.
I mean, truly, we can blame it on one person. We can blame it on John Robinson, blame it on Rand Carthon, blame it on Mike Vrabel. Mike Bergonzi's been here for a cup of coffee. Like, the cup of coffee hadn't even gotten cool yet. You whiffed on 3 straight drafts, and that is going to cripple any franchise that doesn't have elite quarterback play.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Well, that GM we just talked about, Eric DeCosta of the Ravens, made a big football move yesterday, and they want you to know that it is a football move. That's next. RKW is brewed by Scooter's Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. I want you to give the people of 104.5 The Zone a round of applause. 15,000 subscribers to the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. Let the record show
Let's go.
that it happened during Ramon Kalen Will.
646.
Let the record show.
Thank y'all, man.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
huge.
That's great.
Let's see if we can get to 20,000. Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
All right, so the next goal I will set is 20,000 before the first preseason game.
What if I
Perfect.
Ready, set, go.
There we go.
Achieving goals here.
We barely missed our draft goal. We will hit the preseason goal because I'll keep telling you people to do it. And I do mean you people. Yesterday, Eric DeCosta, the Ravens general manager, along with ownership, with the front office, released Justin Tucker, a very unceremonious end to the career of one of the most decorated and achieved kickers in the history of the league. In Baltimore. And there is still an investigation about his sexual misconduct by the league. He's been accused of misconduct by 16 massage therapists from 8 high-end spas and wellness centers in the Baltimore area. All of those happened between 2012 and 2016, his first 5 seasons in the NFL. The Baltimore Banner with that report. However, the Ravens, they are specific in saying this was a football decision. This was a football move. What did you make of this yesterday and the very unceremonious, bland statement they released when Justin Tucker got released?
Man, that the noise is a little bit louder and that his production would allow more than anything. But the conversation around him was he was missing kicks because of the stress of this situation too. So it is a very finicky situation because what I would tell you is this: that guy's a weapon on the field.
Sure is.
Yep.
Besides the quarterback, as far as getting points, he was him. We used to have a motto: if they cross the 50, that's 3 points because they got Justin Tuck. It wasn't no conversation around it. So that lets you know that this is a loud conversation around him. And what you cannot be, man, is unproductive and have situations around you too. So.
Yeah, we saw it once with the Deshaun Watson, situation, and we clearly know what happened with that. Obviously, he was still able to play, but he kind of had the injuries and everything, so it didn't necessarily prevent him, even though he sat out almost 2 years. It seemed like from everything that had happened. I don't know. This is such a weird situation, guys, because something definitely had to probably allegedly happen, whether it was consent or not. Something got out, and then nowadays I feel like there is a trickle effect, and there's a ton of people now that have said that he also was somebody who came in and did the things that he did. We all know what that is. So it's hard not to believe it, but at the same time it's like, how much of that is true? Like, I'm sure maybe something happened, but how much is all these other people true? Long story short, Ravens didn't want any part of it at this point. And maybe it made it a little easier, guys, that he didn't have the best season last year because he was definitely not the Justin Tucker we know last season. And so it could have made it a little bit easier, the age and that fact that they move on. My biggest question, does he get a job this year in the NFL?
So I think the fact that they said it's football reasons is specific because it avoids punishment and being, counter-sued, I guess, through kind of the NFLPA process and the one punishment rule in the collective bargaining agreement. And again, you're a lot more literate in this, Ramon, than I am, and so correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but Mike Florio wrote about it and said, at a minimum, Tucker could have argued under the one punishment principle that the team's decision to release him in the aftermath of the allegations could short-circuit the pending investigation. And it still kind of could. So essentially that if you are suspended or if an investigation is ongoing and decides that you did something wrong off the field, that's your one punishment. Getting released then adds a second punishment to it. And then that should lessen the blow of the suspension or lessen, all these things. Because now he's losing out on major money.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Like he's missing out on a 4-year contract. So it's strategic by the Ravens and in the best interest of the team to say this is a football decision based on football and not, hey, your off-field stuff is why we're releasing you, because then Justin Tucker could try to recoup some of that money.
That's smooth because he can sue. You sue for lost wages.
Exactly.
That's what that would be. And it would be guilty in the public perception is what it would be.
Now, I do believe it is football reasons because he wasn't very good last year.
He wasn't.
And it's the same thing we said about Shedeur Sanders in the draft. Teams will put up with your baggage when the play outweighs it.
Yep.
And that's just the simple fact of college football, of NFL football. It's the sad reality of the business that we're in that requires wins and losses and requires production for people to keep their jobs. But if your play outweighs your baggage, I'm sure they'd keep him.
Because these cases came up in, what was it, 2014 to
2012 to 2016.
2012 to 2016. They knew about this.
Yeah, I heard it was a good kept secret.
While we were playing,
bad kept secret.
While I was in the locker room in 19, this conversation came up then. So this has not been a hidden situation. Well, I think you're 100% correct.
He was dominating.
Yes, he was absolutely dominating. He was doing the opera stuff and everything. What also really messed him over, too, is 16. Like, you in Deshaun Watson territory at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought about in my career, because I heard two pros and a cup of Joe talking about this morning, like, who has that many massage therapists? And I thought to myself, in 11 years, I dealt with 3.
I was going to ask you that,
dealt
actually.
with 3, just 3. I can name them. Miss Tasha, Miss Sandy, and my guy Dave in the last, 4-5 years of my career. And in that, it was all facilitated in situations where there was calls for anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a line you cannot cross most times. Like, and guys fight that. And I know people have their own demons. I'm not here to kink shame or whatever you guys have going on. But, sometimes as pros and just as men, get the service and leave. 16.
That's a lot of massage therapists to go to and try it. You're exactly right. I mean, I'm not even an athlete, and, I can name the amount that I've gone to, too, in my whole lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to go to different people when you really want to just zone in on somebody who knows exactly how to do it, especially if you're an athlete, making sure that it's the right way to do things too and working your body out, because you got to be ready every week.
I didn't have a massage therapist here per se, so I went to Massage Envy and something like that.
Right.
But it wasn't even frequent. I might have gone to them twice. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just if I was really sore after training in the summertime, it wasn't anything like that. So I can't even say I racked up numbers like that at massage therapists. It's
I think I've
crazy.
had one massage in my entire life.
Really?
I can't imagine 16.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a ton.
It's a lot. I won't speak to the personal part of it and the allegations part of it. What we do know and the facts that we know are that it was in the best interest of the Ravens to say this was a football decision.
Exactly.
It was.
Yeah.
And they've drafted Tyler Loop, who was their top-rated kicker in the draft. 6 of 9 attempts from 50-plus last season. He is the first new kicker for the Ravens in 14 years. End of an era.
Wow.
For Justin Tucker. I do think he'll get picked up somewhere.
Everybody always needs a kicker.
Maybe not immediately. Matt Ariza is in Kansas City now after he had to survive allegations made against him. And again, I don't know the facts of that, so I won't get into the weeds of it. But there are stories of guys that survive situations like this, whether, justifiably or not. It's case by case. And again, without knowing the facts and without knowing it, we're far away from there. I couldn't tell you.
Deshaun son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that same point.
Him, I'd say we can say not justifiably.
I know,
Still
but after everything came out.
It took a while to simmer down for somebody to,
But the Browns still say, no, he got talent.
Crazy.
Yeah.
615-737-1045, a way too early college football prediction for you on May the 6th.
Here we go.
Let's go. Next.
Man, Mother's Day is this weekend. Do not get caught lacking, okay? A place where you can get something from is Genesis Diamonds. It is your destination for Mother's Day gifts. All right, this year, get her something that is timeless, meaningful, and special, man. Genesis put together an incredible selection of Mother's Day gifts that are both affordable and stylish. Layered necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, colored gemstones, heirloom quality jewelry, all right? Diamond bracelets and earrings. These are pieces of jewelry she can wear anywhere, from Target to the theater. And she can enjoy them for years to come. Dinner out is nice. A thoughtful card is also important, but if you really want to let mom know what she means to the family, bring her home something from Genesis. How about a birthstone ring or something elegant from Takori? Genesis non-commissioned experts can help you pick out the perfect gift and stay in budget. Or if you really want to splurge too, check out Genesis' amazing selection of ladies' pre-owned Rolex watches. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. Go see my friends at Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolex. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It is 7 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Baltimore Ravens announced yesterday they've decided to release five-time All-Pro kicker Justin Tucker in what general manager Eric DeCosta called a football decision. The news comes months after reports that he was accused of inappropriate behavior by 16 massage therapists. The 35-year-old Tucker has played his entire 13-year career with Baltimore to this point. The Nashville Predators and general manager Barry Trotz announced yesterday that Andrew Burnett will return next season as the head coach. Trotz said, quote, in a press conference, Andrew Burnett is a good young coach. That's why I hired him. He needs to add a lot of tools to his tool belt. Andrew is going to work hard to find the solution. The Predators finished last season 30-44-8 while also missing out on the playoffs. Speaking of the Predators, it turns out the odds were not in their favor last night with the NHL lottery draft. The Preds had the third best odds to select number 1 overall, but ended up with the 5th overall pick. The New York Islanders, who had the 10th best odds at just 3.5%, they ended up winning the lottery and will hold the first overall pick in the draft, which is June 27th and 28th in Los Angeles. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We've got the medium roast going this morning. It is perfectly caffeinating us for our caffeinated opinions. Coming up in 20 minutes, we'll start a new series of hypothetical questions about the upcoming Tennessee Titans season. What if the Titans just kind of have what they have at wide receiver, if edge rusher? What if this too deep is just it? We'll talk about what that means for the offense, what it means for the defense. We'll go through different hypothetical questions for the upcoming season throughout the next few weeks here on the show that includes Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Justin Hawkins. I'm Will Bowling. It's never too early for college football projections, right?
No.
For playoff projections.
We're not too far out.
I want to judge them.
We're 4 months away.
Yeah.
From college football season. So Brad Crawford at CBSSports.com, 247 Sports, has Navy playing Penn State.
Navy?
In the 5-12 matchup. Navy.
The Service Academy?
Blake
Navy.
Horvath. Very good player.
It's been a while since I've looked at like what their offense is. Are they like wing
Blake
T
Horvath.
still?
They're a little bit of everything. They're still, I would say they're a multiple offense.
Okay.
They're maybe running some option, but out of the shotgun.
They will toss it.
But they will throw a shotgun pass.
Okay, all right.
They have mastered the forward pass in the year of our Lord 2025. Georgia, Notre Dame.
Hold on, before you go further, playing those service academy schools, like they come with a lot of tension in them though too. Like more times than not, like you overthink those games. So if they actually have a good quarterback, a good system in place with a defense, I can see that being the case. You know this or you expect this. Discipline of their play has got to be there. So it makes you feel like if I don't win a rep, it's because they out-discipline me more than out-talented you. So it's going to be fascinating, Will, if they do make a run and how they get in, man.
The funny thing is, half of those quarterbacks, this is not a real stat, half of those quarterbacks came from Nashville for Army and Navy.
Pope, one of them.
We went on a crazy run, Nashville, of producing service academy QBs. You had Malcolm Perry. You had, Josh Reynolds.
Oh, Josh Reynolds. Okay.
There are other ones, too, who were from Tennessee. I'm blanking on the rest of the those are the two that I mainly think of. But you had Bryson Daly. He's not from Nashville, but Bryson Daly was the Army guy most recently in 2024, who was a stud. But Blake Horvath is that guy for Navy.
Okay,
stud quarterback. Probably a guy who had options to enter the portal and decided not to.
That's commendable. I wonder what the ruling's going to be. You know, if he becomes a higher draft pick than expected.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Cool. Notre Dame would be 6th, playing Georgia. Notre Dame hosting Georgia.
Georgia being 11th
would be a wild scene up in South Bend.
Yes, it would.
Alabama would host Miami. We call that the Isaiah Horton Bowl. Isaiah Horton, Miami wide receiver last year. Oakland product here in Murfreesboro, who now plays for the Crimson Tide. Oregon would host LSU in the 8-9 matchup.
I like that one. That one's fun.
Spicy.
I like it.
Who's the projected quarterback this year for Oregon?
Dante Moore.
Dante sure is.
Highly touted recruit who was originally at UCLA.
That's why they were just
we call that reverse Nicoing.
Yes. That's what that was. Yeah, it was like, we're good on Nico. We got our own Nico.
From Cleveland, Ohio to Eugene, Oregon.
I would have loved
Actually,
that.
Detroit, Michigan.
He's from Detroit. All right.
Yeah.
I think he's from both.
The rainy weather.
And then top 4, Ohio State is 1 in Brad Crawford's projection. Texas is 2.
Oh.
Clemson is 3. Keenan Reynolds, by the way. I said Josh Reynolds, my mistake, for Navy quarterback. And then Iowa State would be the Big 12 champion at number 4. Where do you take issue with this list?
What do I take issue? I wanna have an issue with Georgia being 11, but Georgia also got to figure out this quarterback situation that they're in more than anything, and it's Kirby in the SEC more than anything. Just thinking he'll be better than an 11 seed. Besides that, Texas being to Ohio State 1, I would actually, not that it matters 1 versus 2 in those situations, but I actually think Texas, with the speculation them spending between $25 and $40 million for a roster.
Yeah, I saw that.
If Ohio State,
Crazy.
think about that for a second. I thought the budget was $13 million, right? That's what I'd heard before. For a competitive roster.
Climbing, yeah.
It keeps climbing. But I think Texas is probably going to run college football this year. I see them as the number 1 overall seed more than me. That's the only issue I really got with this setup. Iowa State, I'm not as privy with the information on them. It'd be fascinating to see what happens coming out of that division. But as far as that goes, no, I think this is about as locked in as you can be. Clemson. Quarterback supposed to be it this year too. Cade Klubnik. Yeah.
Dude, he's getting so much preseason love.
Do you think he deserves
so much preseason love? I don't know. I mean, I think he deserves a lot of it, but I don't know yet if he's like I've seen where he's the number 1 quarterback.
Him and Nussmeier.
In the NFL draft process.
Yeah.
And I get like the Nussmeier with all the experience and stuff, but Cade Klubnik has also had to kind of bounce back from that one really. He wasn't bad, but it's just like Clemson has kind of had to bounce back too. So, he's done a good job. Can't take anything away from it.
Really good last season.
He
Cade
was,
Klubnik had 3,600 yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, completed 63% of his passes in the down ACC.
Sure. I have a slight issue with Ohio State being the number 1 seed. I think a lot of that is just saying, hey, they're always going to have the talent. But can we expect that every year? Because this is a team also who has shot themselves in the foot every year losing to Michigan. This is a team where everything kind of just luckily came together after that loss to Michigan again this year because they had all the right pieces work at the right time. Plus they had Chip Kelly, by the way,
and
who
Jim Knowles
started to get in his bag, and Jim Knowles, who is now gone. Jim Knowles at Penn State. I don't necessarily feel comfortable saying right now that Ohio State is going to be that number 1 seed. Also, let's make sure the quarterback works out there. Julian Sayin looks to be the starter right now, but let's just make sure that works out too. I also don't know about Miami. And I say that because Miami last year, and I know that they're doing things to better this defense. Miami's defense was crap last year. I think a lot of reason why they stood in it is because of their offense, is because of Cam Ward and the pieces around him. I am not high on Carson Beck bouncing back just like that. And him being able to do kind of like weigh everything on his shoulders and hold the team on his shoulder. I feel like when that was counted on last year at Georgia, he didn't do it. He actually got in his own head and was worse. So I don't know if I necessarily think Miami's going to be a playoff team right away. I mean, that needs some convincing for me.
New defensive coordinator at Miami. They basically just cleaned house on the defensive side of the ball. Corey Heatherman, brought in from Minnesota. Not exactly the high-profile coordinator name of, Tom Allen going to Clemson or Jim Knowles going to Penn State. It's a fair argument for Miami, for sure. They have recruited very well in the high school ranks to give themselves a foundation. Yeah. And that's where I do trust Mario Cristobal in that program is their high school recruiting is just so good. Mm-hmm. And that is where, somebody in the chat makes the mention of they're going to be what FSU was last year. I don't agree with that simply because FSU has not recruited well at the high school ranks. Like Mike Norvell, when they were good, hit on a ton of transfers. And Miami, publicly has had a lot of really big transfers too, obviously Cam Ward being the main one. But Miami has had good high school recruiting classes to supplement the transfer. Like the transfers have been the cherry on top and not the ice cream of the sundae, which is the way this thing kind of normally has to be put together.
Do you think Cristobal, real quick, has done a good enough job, though, at someone in the chat maybe mentioned this too, at developing that talent? Because I feel like there's always been a little bit of questions about Cristobal in terms of the recruiting's great, but like, does he get really everything he can out of these guys.
Right now, Francis Mauigoa is supposed to be a top 5 pick going into this draft. That's the one I'm more familiar with, the left tackle. He's a projected top 5, top 10 pick coming out. Yeah, who's a recruit too.
Between Tennessee and Miami when
when he came out. So to say that development side of it, what I will say what Cristobal has done is let his collective do their thing. He's gone and found the right mature players to incorporate into their program. Like Miami's constantly in it. Like I'm almost to that point. Like I don't know what to think of them in a sense because they do so much buying, and they're also ACC, and you don't see them until Florida State, Florida game more than anything, and they just kind of cook by themselves.
Yeah.
There's one team I think should be on this list who isn't. I think Illinois is going to make the college football playoff.
Wow.
Why so?
This is a team that returns a lot of production from a squad that won 10 games last year. It's their first 10-win team since 2001. They bring back Luke Altmaier. They bring back a lot of that offensive line. They bring back a lot of the defense. They lose, a couple of wide receivers in Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin. But you look at Illinois' schedule. Western Illinois, at Duke, Western Michigan, at Indiana. That Indiana game, a major litmus test. For both of those teams. For Kurt Cignetti's team and how they reload. Fernando Mendoza, that is a guy that's got a lot of NFL draft hype right now, the former Cal quarterback who's going to be one of the top transfer quarterbacks in the country. But then Illinois hosts USC September 27th. Again, we're talking week 5, early in the season. Major implications there. Purdue is one of the worst FBS teams in the last 30 years. Seriously. You get Ohio State at home. You go to Washington. They've got an interesting quarterback situation and a guy they really believe in who took over late last season. Rutgers, Maryland, at Wisconsin, Northwestern. I mean, a 10-win Illinois team is probably in the college football playoff. I mean, honestly, like I see 3 losses on that schedule, maybe. Like they get kind of what Indiana did last year, where I think they get the benefit of the unbalanced, a little bit easier Big Ten schedule. And Luke Altmaier's a stud.
And we forget, Brett Bielema gets slept on sometimes. We got to remember that he's a good coach.
So there are 2 losses you have this year at Indiana and Ohio State.
I don't think they lose it. Indiana.
You don't think they? Well, I think like with what we know about Indiana and that offense, that's more challenging. I feel like than it's going to lead itself.
I would say if I'm picking 2 losses, it's at Wisconsin and against Ohio State at home.
Okay.
So the SC isn't a big deal for you for Illinois.
Not in the fortress of Champaign, Illinois.
I will say, if as much as I can, I do want to see this Duke game though with Illinois, considering the $4 or $5 million quarterback too.
That's right,
coming over from Tulane.
Yeah.
And that to me is where the only question marks I think play into. But if they have that strong of a team, definitely that quarterback won't mean much to them. I will say in this Brad Crawford write-up, this Ohio State and Penn State defensive battle that they should have with everything that both teams have coming back, with Jim Knowles at Penn State and Matt Patricia. Did y'all know he was at Ohio State?
Yeah, and Brian Hartline on offense. The 2 new coordinators for Ohio State scare me more than the new quarterback does. Julian Sayin is really, really good on paper. Yeah. But not having Chip Kelly to bring him along, not having, Jim Knowles to bring along a defense that's replacing a lot of pieces up front. To me, like, I trust Ryan Day less to make up for the talent lost in his coordinator positions than I would any other, coaches in that top 5.
So we're just okay with Penn State not being in this.
They're in.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Where?
heck yeah. They made the national.
Yeah, they're number 5.
Why am I not
all the way
seeing
down?
this?
Penn State will probably be the number 2 or 3 ranked team, but as the top,
it's right down here.
Second place conference team, they'd be.
Yeah.
He has a national championship game.
Be...
Penn Sate, Texas.
I think that's where I think those are the top 2 teams in college football right now.
Yeah.
Penn State and Texas.
On paper, yeah.
They're going to have to really convince me.
I think it's Texas 1 and Penn State 2 is how I would rank it if I was doing a top 5 ranking.
And this region bias the way I'm this way with Penn State.
I get it.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, and there's reason to trust Steve Sarkisian, but it is funny, though. Like, Steve Sarkisian has a lot of the same, like, can't get to the mountaintop attributes that James Franklin does.
Yep.
We just hold it against James Franklin a little bit more than I think we do Steve Sarkisian because he runs a fun offense.
Exactly.
And I like both coaches. I think they're both really good coaches that probably deserve more credit than they get. 615-737-1045. We begin a new series here on the show coming up next. Hypotheticals. hypothetical questions on things that could or couldn't happen, but we look at the ripple effects if they do happen. What if the Titans don't add more significant help at wide receiver or edge rusher? That's next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
Right there, like I'm going through puberty or something. But it's Ramon Foster for All American Pest Control, man. It's that time of the year when the bugs become buggier, and it's that time of the year where I'm also happy to have All American Pest Control take care of my family, man, and my home. Listen to me. They take care of me and my family. I have for years now, too. They're just good at what they do, man, and they're local. I've met them. They're great people, by the way, too, and they just do great business, man. But we want every single pest around the house gone, man. So we are set up on All Americans Complete Care Max program for pest control, mosquitoes, termites, and yard. What I love is this, man. If a pest gets inside, all I got to do is give them a call. They send one of their pest experts back out to our house to treat the inside for no extra charge. It is fantastic. If you're like me, man, just want to enjoy the inside and outside of your house without seeing the creepy crawlies, man, reach out to the company I trust. You can visit their website at yuckbugs.com. That's yuckbugs.com.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, locally owned and near you. In Middle Tennessee, Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. You may have made the seasonal switch to cold coffee, to cold caffeine. Well, considering what we've got going on, just the middle of the frozen tundra that has made it here to Middle Tennessee, maybe you switch back to a flavored warm coffee this morning.
There you go.
If you're doing that, it needs to be a Scooters Coffee cup of
Has
coffee.
to be.
It'll be terrific. You'll thank us later. So we're going to start a new series here on the show talking about hypothetical questions about the upcoming NFL season. We start locally with the Tennessee Titans. And one of the big hypotheticals that I've got, considering the topic we had yesterday, talking about available free agents at edge rusher, at wide receiver, at inside linebacker, at other options. I think we can all agree, guys, right? That the two biggest question marks on this team, not named Cam Ward, are how are the wide receivers going to play?
Yep.
And do you have enough edge rusher help?
Correct.
Hypothetically, what if the Titans don't add more significant help at wide receiver or edge rusher? I know they're probably going to add somebody at edge to get after the passer because they got to fill out a full roster. And maybe there's an undrafted guy that makes it. But let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, there isn't a Zadarius Smith. There's not a Preston Smith. There's not one of those top of the free agent remaining market left guys who are brought in. What does it mean for this defense? Ramon, let's start with you on this one. If the edge rusher just is what it is at this point of the process.
And Denard Wilson has to get very creative with how he employs guys to blitzing. Where does he have to? And the health of this team has to play a huge part in it more than anything, too. Like, this is a situation where I always say rush and coverage works together because we're talking about edge because of the ability to get after the quarterback, correct? So with that being said, how else do you get to those points? Guys like T'Vondre Sweat have to grow up in year two. Guys like Jarvis Brownlee Jr. got to be real good in coverage to allow you to get to the quarterback, too. If you're in a situation where your secondary is getting beat at the line of scrimmage quick as possible and the quarterback got the ability to get rid of the ball, what good is a rush anyway? I think the heightened senses of the secondary have to be at the forefront of this defense, I think, just initially this year anyway. Guys got to grow up. Guys got to stay healthy. The idea of a healthy L'Jarius Sneed being able to cut off half of the field has to be seen early and often this year. And that's where, if you are in this position to say, hey, L'Jarius, we know your practice schedule is what it is, but we got to see some semblance of how, some scenario of you practicing more than maybe 2 days a week, and even in training camp too, so the guys can understand what the time is going to be like. It can't be the defense just continually rush after rush after rush and not being able to get home. That works hand in hand. So I look at the secondary more than anything, Will. We talk about the rushers being set for this team so far.
Yeah, and I agree with that part, and I agree with the creativity that you're going to have to get from Denard Wilson, because in this situation, what they added in the offseason with a guy like Draymond Jones coming over from Seattle in his 2 seasons there, and primarily let's talk about last season because Mike McDonald, there's a similar defense as what is going down here with Denard Wilson, and he put him primarily on the edge in Seattle. It wasn't crazy successful in terms of, numbers getting to the quarterback. 4.5 sacks. This is a guy who's never had double-digit sacks in his career. Like, that's not necessarily the position he probably should be playing full-time. But you brought him down here, and right now, the only other guy that has kind of proven it is Arden Key. And I want to say this, Arden Key is still not, to my liking, consistent enough. I think if he carries over the outside work that he got done last year, and he had outside help to kind of shore up his consistency last year, if he can carry that over this year and build off of that, then I feel fine with Arden Key on one side. But there is still the question of who is going to be that other piece on the other end. And right now, you've got a guy like Draymond Jones, who is more versatile. You've got a guy like Olufemi Oladipo, who's more versatile, who's also young. And you're expecting to possibly, be at that set edge position. And Jalen Harrell, like we saw glimpses of him last year, but there is nothing like full-time provenness in that spot as a starter. So I think my whole question is, it would be more of, oh my gosh, is this going to be a hit? in terms of the development, or is this going to be complete miss and they're going to be in big trouble because we're going to be looking at like one of those seasons we had, 2 years ago with the Titans or 3 years ago, where we're like, where are they when it comes to getting to the quarterback?
Which also makes things tougher on third down, where they were also bad in the 2020 season.
Really
that's
bad.
the season you're thinking of there, where they just couldn't get after the quarterback and they couldn't get off the field on like 3rd and 15. You also had an old Jonathan Joseph running around covering guys at that point too. So your edge rushers, like Kayla said, Draymond Jones, Arden Key, Femi Oladejo, Jalen Harrell, Ollie Gay, also at the bottom of this roster. Let's quickly jump to a hypothetical from last season. Let's say if Will Levis was league average at quarterback, was this defense good enough for you to be 500 last season?
Was the defense good enough? Instantly, no.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No,
Okay.
Why do you think yes, Kayla?
Because I do think, like, I'm going to look up Harold Landry's numbers real quick. But as much as we want to diss on Harold Landry, like, oh, he's just, he's washed up or he wasn't good enough. I don't think he was necessarily bad last year. He did it quietly. Like, he wasn't, crazy good, but he wasn't bad. But the biggest thing I would say is because this defense, for the most part, won you a lot of games where if Will Levis would have even been mediocre, Will Levis could have won some other games for this team because the defense got dog tired. So much so that at the end of some of these games, they were rotating out the line, their starting line. And sometimes we were like, what are they doing? They were exhausted. At some point, they couldn't do any more work for this team because it was carrying Will Levis's weight.
Yeah.
Why do you say no, Ramon?
Why do I say no? Is because as far as points given up, they were 30th in the league last year. Let's just start there. The rushing that they had been so prideful of was 26 in the league as far as attempts and yards given up, too. If you can't stop the nosebleed and can't get after the quarterback, you are way below average when it comes down to those terms. I know, like Kayla was just saying, too, the covering up of what Will Levis and the offense was doing, and Mason Rudolph, too, of giving them short field. That also doesn't help the cause. You weren't deep enough as far as the depth goes, and you weren't experienced enough at a lot of positions to be more than average last year. I thought last year was a pullback for the defense. Although you saw good out of some guys, it wasn't good enough. Not even close, Will.
And it hurt them because they did not have Snead on the field. And they did not have Chidobe Awuzie, who I think if those two parts would have been healthy, that would have helped out the cause as well.
So I think if you were giving me the defense that started the season week 1, yes. I think they were good enough to get you to 9-8. If Will Levis was league average, when you had Ernest Jones, Quandre Diggs, and L'Jarius Sneed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, Diggs got hurt too.
I agree with that.
I think when they were healthy and when they wanted to have Ernest Jones and didn't want the day 3 pick in exchange for him, which they correctly did. I'm not criticizing that move. I think they were good enough to at least be middle-of-the-road NFL team. But then when the quarterback play maybe got a little bit better, or, the second you would plug one hole, another one would pop up, and you could go put duct tape on the special teams hole, and then you can't stop the run, and then you put duct tape on the run-stopping hole, and then you're throwing picks again. Like, there was never enough complimentary football for this to really be a very legitimate conversation because there always was something else going on. All right, so that's the quick aside, I think, to make the next point is, can they be, without Harold Landry's 9 sacks and without Ernest Jones ever being a part of this defense, can they get back to that? Can they be a middle-of-the-road defense? For me, in this hypothetical where they don't add a significant edge rusher help, it means Femi Oladejo has to be a 1-for-1 replacement for Harold Landry.
Yeah. I don't see that happening.
And that's if they, and again, they added Dante Fowler, somebody said too. Sure. Like, again, body in the room.
Mm-hmm. Depth.
I do think, though, that's the pathway. If Femi Oladejo steps in and is Harold Landry, Draymond Jones steps in and gives you, what Arden Key kind of gave you next season, and Arden Key is just what he kind of should be, is a rotational third guy that you can plug in and out, then maybe we could have this discussion. All right, you can be the same level of defense, but in order to get to that level, you're going to need somebody to step up in a major way right away. If they don't add significant help. Again, we're doing hypotheticals here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the two main culprits on the defense for me as far as the defensive line. That's Jeffrey Simmons, that's Savondre Sweat, just to start with him. And I kind of want to throw Draymond Jones in there, too, just a little bit, because he's a bigger, I think, 4-eye, 3 technique rusher for the most part. And what I'm getting at is if this team want to be good as far as getting after the quarterback and being a team that can get off the field on third down, I think it starts on first and second down more than anything. The emphasis, and I've seen teams do this, and I've seen offense. I've been a part of offenses where you overemphasize first and second down yardage gain. And I think that's where if they want to be good, it starts with stopping the run first. Putting a team at 2nd and 9. Then we're at 3rd and 8 more than almost any other team in the league. That's a little bit harder to deal with, or at least the consistency. Yes, at that point. Yeah. You can light them up a little bit more. And I think if you're giving up first down or 2nd and 2s, that's a hard day at the office right there. So I think it's a bigger emphasis on considering what happened to Washington game, looking at the Green Bay game at times too last year, and there's others that was a part of that Jacksonville at times where you can just run the ball here or there. If you can stop teams on first and second down more than just worry about third, that's where the issue for watching Vandy taking that next step.
Yeah, and you also have to consider in all of this, this year, the reason why I think they're preaching like patience and we're not going out here to just go to the playoffs necessarily this year is you're looking at the questions we just talked about with Edge. You're also questioning your young linebackers in terms of like that position. That's the second level of the defense where we're just not having a lot of answers right now to that. That's why it's hard even if they add a piece. I still am like, I don't know if I'm 100% sure on this defense this year.
I think that's the struggle is you've got to get better at one of two things, stopping passes over the middle or getting after the quarterback quickly. Mm-hmm. Because right now, the quick passing game over the middle is the way you're going to be able to find success against this defense.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anyone who can quick off the ball, get after the quarterback. That's a proven commodity in the NFL. And you are weaker at coverage linebacker than you would probably like to be. Now, if James Williams steps up and is who you want him to be in year 2, then great. Maybe that's not as big of an issue. But that's relying a lot on a day 3 draft pick who your current GM didn't even pick to step in year 2 and be a guy. I hope he is. But there's a big risk associated with that, which again, these are all hypotheticals, just to say if they are what they are right now, what do they look like? If they had a coverage linebacker, you'd solve maybe one of those problems. What about at wide receiver? Are you comfortable at wide receiver? What if they don't add any more significant help? Are you okay with where they are? Does Cam Ward have enough?
Does he have enough? Just at wide receivers, not including tight ends.
Just wide receivers.
Just wide receivers. Yeah, I think he has enough. The 2 rookies, for sure. Calvin absolutely is a part of it. And also having Tyler Lockett a part of it. I think you got a nice variation of guys that do very specific things, Will, that won't step on each other's toes, man. Van Jefferson, I keep forgetting about at times, too. But I do think they have enough for where this team offense is probably going to look like. I think it'll be more closer to the line of scrimmage as far as the way they throw the ball around across the middle than it is down the field. Hopefully, Calvin and Cam can have a connection down the field along with some others too. But yeah, I'm okay with where it's at right now, considering the circumstances.
I mean, there's still a lot of things that need to go right with some of the younger players like that we saw just drafted. But I do more and more fall in love with the pick of Lockett. I truly do feel like they would not sign him here if they didn't believe he had some left in the tank. I also just feel like he's going to help some of these young wide receivers grow, even, when they get together for OTAs. I do believe like he will be a huge tool in that room, but he's also going to be utilized in terms of the field too. The only question with the other veteran in Ridley I have, and I've brought this up several times on the show, I just need to see him get off to a better start with the young rookie. We saw him struggle at times to get on the same page as the quarterbacks last year in camp. We need to see that be changed this year. And I do believe he can do it. I think he's very talented, and I really like Calvin Ridley, but you've got to prove that to me, especially when now it's a young quarterback. And maybe that makes it easy. I don't know, because Cam Ward has elevated a lot of receivers along his path. But let's not forget, too, I also like now the tight ends. I think, Chigakonkwo, that's a weapon as well. And I think Gunnar Helm, the young Gunnar Helm, can also be added to that as being a weapon early on. So I'm more comfortable with that, skill position.
If the Titans don't add significant help at wide receiver, I feel good as long as one of the two rookies is consistently available and productive. Just one of the two.
Fair.
I think one will.
I think so, too.
I'm banking on
It's
it.
fair.
I feel decent about where they are at wide receiver right now. Considering the amount of holes they had, I actually feel great about how they've addressed the wide receiver position. And I think there's something to be said, too, that Cam Ward will have a lot more time to find these receivers open because they have invested so heavily in the offensive line.
I want that wide receiver. I want it to be either one. I want both of them to be good, but I'd love to see Chimere DK because of what his tape looks like for what he can do for an offense.
His ceiling is so high.
Running him and Calvin down the seam together or crossing one over with the other, he has a knack for that, and I'm hoping they find a way, Coach Callahan, to scheme that up. And I do mean scheme it up, too.
Selly on YouTube says, mainly blaming Levis for 3-14 is an easy and lazy take. I don't think anyone here is blaming Levis mainly for 3-14, but I think it's fair to have the conversation to say, how good could this team have been if Levis over 17 games had given you league average quarterback play? That's not blaming Levis for what happened. That's simply having a conversation on what could have happened if he had been a lot better than he was.
Levis may not have been ready. In a lot of different ways.
I don't think he was ready here.
Yeah, in his head.
He was
I don't
pointing
think
to
he
her
was.
head mentally.
Yeah.
If you're not watching on Zone TV. I agree.
I think there's a lot of that. I think he thought this league was easy.
And Ramon, as you know, a lot of
agree.
times you have to step in before you are ready in order to make it in this league.
He marketed himself. He put the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah,
He
he
marketed
did.
himself. And by the way, go get your money, man. Like, I get it, but it's hard then when you have to then follow it up on the field and then everyone's looking at you. Guess what? That's the consequence sometimes.
And the only reason you want to blame Levis, if we're blaming him real quick too, is because of this reason. The connections just weren't there. You never saw it show up.
Yep.
Coming up, more of your phone calls on this conversation as our hypothetical series begins. What if the Titans don't add significant help at edge rusher or wide receiver? 615-737-1045. Plus, the Nashville Predators made a big decision yesterday to make no changes. We'll talk about what Barry Trotz had to say next. RKW wrapping up the first half of the show on 104.5 The Zone. We are fueled by Scooters Coffee, locally owned and near you at Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. 615-737-1045. Tavares wants to talk Titans with us on the phones this morning. What's up, Tavares?
What up, Tavares?
Yeah. What's up? What's up? I'm a first-time caller. I'm calling from Palm Beach County, Florida.
Welcome.
Let's go.
Tavares, let's go, baby.
Yeah, man. I've been a fan since '99. So,
Wow.
but this is what I want to say. All right, so we talking about like the drafts and stuff, right? So I was thinking like I love Cam, I love the whole draft, how we went, how we did it. But I was thinking like I've been to Nashville like 3 times to go watch the games, and I love how Broadway is. I love the whole setup. I always tell my homeboys about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was thinking like it's a business. So we got a new stadium, and we're trying to sell. So we're trying to put people in the seats. So I'm thinking like if we would have took the trade from the Giants, then we could have did basically everything we wanted to do in a way, because we would have had 2-3 draft picks in the first round, and then we'd have had that third round that we didn't have, and we'd have had another pick. So I'm thinking like if we would have went Carter, and then we could have got one of the best receivers, and then we could have did something else crazy, and then we could have went and got Shador just to sell tickets. Because now he's the number one selling like rookie right now.
That's right.
And I mean he got the best passing rating in college as a completion ever of all time. So I just wanted to see where y'all at with that, because I just be thinking like about selling. I always try to think about getting more, and I feel like that would have been a perfect way for us to like see everything that we've been missing for the last couple of years.
Sure.
So I just want to hang up and let y'all do that.
Appreciate the call,
Thank you,
Tavares, for the
Tavares.
first time, man.
I think there is more than one right answer, right?
Yeah, it is more than one right.
I think that is a good strategy. I think getting your guy in Cam Ward and switching the order of operations is also a good strategy. I don't think there is one that's just markedly better than the other. And for me, once Sam Darnold was off the market, I was no longer interested in the trading back method.
Mm-hmm. I think I think a lot of people wanted to trade back, but then people were saying, well, who's your quarterback to, then facilitate everything? Like, yeah, you might fill more holes that you needed, but you still don't have that quarterback. And I know he mentioned go get Shador Sanders. Look, no one knew Shador Sanders was going to fall to where he fell. And I will also say this, when the two quarterbacks were put side by side, almost every single team who needed a quarterback put Cam Ward in front of Shador Sanders, whether that be, what he was able to do in the meetings and reiterate some of the plays and, do things that, they needed to do as a quarterback in that moment. Clearly Cam Ward was the better quarterback when it came to what these teams thought. So I still think he's a quarterback, and you still got a quarterback who can still sell tickets.
Yeah, and Tavares, I just want to say this. You don't want to do that. Like, I love the idea of, like, going back and getting the popular guy, but I've played against a franchise that did that for years.
The Cleveland Browns.
You don't want to be them. Yeah. You don't want to be Jacksonville.
Right.
Like, you don't want to be Carolina in a sense, like where they are. And I think Carolina's going to get back to their winning ways. But what I'm getting at is this. If you win, them jersey sales going to sell. Regardless, if you win with the number 1 overall quarterback, the network's going to be here. The money going to be made.
And I think, too, the trading back and taking Shador Sanders' idea was a lot better one when we didn't know what we know about how he went through the process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was, I think, the biggest part of it. Now, the version of Shador, I think I said this Friday, the version of Shador we're seeing now on social media where he's working out every day, doing community service, checking every single box. If he did that on the front end, we'd probably be having a different conversation right now.
Yeah.
He acted like he got recruited versus interviewed.
Yeah. Somebody definitely got to him and said, these optics ain't good. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea. But on this one, if Cam does what he's supposed to, all of that comes true. Plus, you got a better quality quarterback at this point.
I think the beauty of it is in this league, there is not just one pathway to success. And I go back to the very popular debate of protection or pass catcher that happened a couple of years ago between the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you want Penei Sewell or do you want Jamar Chase? Do you want Penei Sewell or do you want Jamar Chase? It was round and round and round and round. No, get the protection first. No, get the receiver first. Like, as long as you get something that is productive, you can do it in whatever order you want to, as long as you believe enough in the player that you are taking in that spot. So if Cam Ward is the guy, then it doesn't matter that they went ahead and got the quarterback first. If he's not, then it does, and you would have rather had more picks. But that's the risk they're taking based on information we're not privy to on how he interviewed behind closed doors, what they feel like he does that can fit into their offense, like things like that. So, yeah, I agree with Tavares. Like, yeah, it would have been a good idea to trade back and get more stuff, but you do that if you have an answer at quarterback, and that answer can't be Will Levis after what he was for you last season.
Just on the basis of, and I'm not sure how it worked out for Bryce or C.J. Stroud either, but just on the idea of Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick this year, do the Titans get more than one primetime game before May 18th?
Good question.
I don't think so.
That should have been a hypothetical question.
I think they do against Cleveland because they're going to want to put up Cleveland and Titans.
But I don't know if they get more
or
than
Jacksonville.
one.
I think we might
one?
be going back to Jacksonville Thursday night because Travis Hunter versus Cam Ward.
I mean, this is where I will say nationally, they're not going to just get Love instantly because they drafted Cam Ward because they barely gave him coverage in the
Cleveland
draft.
did a bunch.
I think they spent a block on it.
I think they will too.
Did.
I think they get 2.
That's my opinion.
You think they get
I think
a
they
ton
make
of
up for it.
national
I think
games?
they make up for it.
How many
Not
national?
a ton. I think they get 2.
I said more than one.
Oh, okay.
They've had one the last couple of years. I think they get, if Cam brings 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, if they get one extra if they draft a core, I'll agree with that. 2 at the max.
I think it's a Thursday night game and a Monday night doubleheader game.
I live that life.
I think it's Thursday night against the Jags will make its return, and there'll be a doubleheader Monday game against Cleveland.
Because they got Miami last year, right?
Is there any
Last 2 years.
Which was a doubleheader last year, even too.
Yeah.
the
Titans are always a Monday night doubleheader.
Yeah.
Vrabel
Yeah, Vrabel.
Oh, Vrabel will get.
Sunday night?
I could make the argument for 2 or 3.
That's what I'm saying. You can make the argument. Cam gives credit to that conversation, in my opinion.
He definitely does.
Especially if he's in the Rookie of the Year running, too.
I just think it'll be funny, though, just talking about New England separately. They will just be getting prime games because Vrabel's there.
Oh, well, it's just New England. I mean, New England always is going to get prime.
Right, but they're not a good team right now.
Well, sure, but they're a
let's
blue
admit
blood.
that.
They're a blue blood NFL brand, and they're Boston. Makes sense. I mean, Cowboys aren't good, but they always get prime time. Same with the Jets. Same with the Giants. Like the
Did
Patriots
they have
are just
a ton
in that
last
same
year?
discussion.
Who's that?
Who?
New England.
New England?
I don't know
last
if
year.
they had a ton of prime
It was
last year.
post-Bill.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me see. New
Couldn't tell you.
England games off top.
We're out of time anyway. 615-737-1045. We'll answer for you on the other side. The Preds made a major decision yesterday. We'll lead off hour 3 with that next.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, I'm headed there today. Cannot wait to go get my treatment done. You hear me? But also for you guys, they have 47% off the non-surgical spinal decompression. Yes, this is their big 47 deal right now, man. And it's because of this reason, man. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they will not give up on you, man. If you have pain in your back, knees, neck, that nerve stuff that goes down your legs, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Whether you're lifting in the weight room or lifting your kids or a lot of just the up and down or sitting at your office desk, there's multitude of reasons why you need to go see Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, man. And it also starts with their facility, too. Have one of the best around with some of the best high-tech equipment from their zero-gravity machine that will lay you down and just, I promise you, just make you better. Hear me out. No more back pain, no more neck pain, and no more tingling down your arms and legs. Go reach out to the company that I trust, man. And that's the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You can call them at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
Don't think there is something wrong with your house, and that's why it's not selling. You just need an expert with proven marketing from a real estate agent like Bernie Gallerani. Look, he and his team market homes to thousands of buyers every single month, creating demand for properties just like yours. And that is exactly what you can get. Top dollar for your home. Everybody wants that, especially now and what we're dealing with here in the economy. Bernie Gallerani has more than 200 5-star Google reviews. He's going to guarantee to sell your home in 30 days or less. Yes, 30 days or less, or he's just going to buy it from you. Not a lot of realtors will tell you that. To get started, it's simple. Just Google Bernie Gallerani Real Estate, or you can go to BernieGallerani.com, or you can give him a call on his cell phone, in fact, at 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644.
It is 8:01 from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Baltimore Ravens announced yesterday they have decided to release five-time All-Pro kicker Justin Tucker in what general manager Eric DeCosta called a football decision. The news comes months after reports that he was accused of inappropriate behavior by 16 massage therapists. The 35-year-old Tucker has played his entire 13-year career with Baltimore. The Ravens drafted kicker Tyler Loop from the University of Arizona in the 6th round this year. The Nashville Predators and general manager Barry Trotz announced yesterday that head coach Andrew Burnett will return next season as the head coach. The Predators finished the season 30-44-8, and they will hold the 5th overall pick in the NHL draft in Los Angeles, held on June 27th and 28th. And also in the NBA, the trend of top seeds losing early in round 2 of the NBA playoffs continued last night as the New York Knicks rallied down 20 points to beat the Boston Celtics 108-105 in Game 1. And the Denver Nuggets, they take down the West number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder 121-119 in Game 1, led by Nikola Jokic's 42 points and 22 rebounds. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. That's also what this show has been on this Tuesday morning. A beautiful morning in the Music City. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins is our producer. Going to talk some hockey because the Preds had a big press conference yesterday. Kayla, how many primetime games did the Pats have last year?
One.
One primetime game?
Yeah, with the New York Jets on Thursday.
Ugh.
I think they'll have,
Disgusting.
I know, right? I think they'll have 3 this year just because of Vrabel.
Probably.
That's right.
You know?
You're right.
So
Yeah,
it'll be
fair.
interesting.
it will be.
Maybe Titans with 2.
I got the Titans off top. I always like this type of stuff, though. Is the schedule release? How many
Welcome to
primetime
Maine.
Oh,
games?
I
Talk
know.
radio.
That's what
Oh
we
my
all.
gosh. How many primetime games? I have them more than one, even if
geez.
it's a Thursday.
Okay. Got it.
Color Rush Thursdays against the Jags. That is
Oh,
AFC South
baby.
Heritage.
We didn't have it last year, Will.
We haven't had it in a while.
It's wild.
They're not required to anymore.
I know.
They're not required
That
to
was like
anymore.
appointment, not really. Appointment TV, though. You just knew it was going to be there.
Titans are always appointment TV here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Barry Trotz is standing by Andrew Burnett. Not making a change. Nashville finished 28 points out of the playoffs. The Preds this past season, registering the 3rd fewest wins and points in the NHL. You'll be shocked to learn a major market once again got the number 1 overall pick in the NHL draft. Preds will pick 5th. I saw Alex Doherty, the Tennessean, say if there was ever a year to lose the lottery, this is the year. There's not one generational prospect. There's like 6 to 8 really good ones. So the Preds are at least fine in that regard. But Barry Trotz says if you've got a good coach and you believe in your coach, then stand behind your coach. So we're standing with Andrew Burnett. He is just like a young player, Barry says. We could have done the easy thing, making a change and see if we can get a bump up or whatever. I didn't do that, Barry Trotz says. I believe in developing people. I believe he's a good young coach, a good young hockey mind. Last season, the Preds finished 31st in goals per game and 27th in goals allowed per contest. Kayla, where are you at with the lack of coaching change, and what do you make of Barry Trotz's comments yesterday?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is Barry Trotz, the coach. And when I hear Barry Trotz make those statements about a coach, it does not make a lot of sense to me because now you are the general manager of the Nashville Predators. You're no longer the coach of a team where you're talking about developing your players. That's not what this is. This is the National Hockey League, which, by the way, you have gone backwards a lot since that 2017 run in the Stanley Cup playoffs all the way to the final, right? And you have already looked at the situation when Poyle was the general manager, when he kept the core of the team together too long, and how that hurt the team in the long run as well because you were just trying to hold on to what you had. Now you're looking at a coach that you took a chance on in a way. Because let's remember Andrew Burnett in terms of where he came from. The Florida Panthers, where he wasn't some proven head coach, guys. That was when I believe Joel Quenneville was pushed aside because of all the accusations that followed him from Chicago. And Burnett was the one that stepped in as interim there. And yeah, they went to the playoffs that year, but a lot of that was based off of what Quenneville had done. And Burnett did not prove anything long-term in Florida. He was then, I think, given a chance by Barry Trotz to be the guy here, to lead this team. But you guys, what steps have been taken forward in the last 2 seasons?
Right.
And let's say also with veteran roster this year where you've added some really like top-notch players. I know they're older, but you went backwards this year.
Yeah, Andrew Burnett was there in 2022, and the Panthers won the President's Trophy as the interim for that one season.
Right.
At 48 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man, to double down on your guy like that. But here's the thing. If he feels the plan started rolling this year as far as his guy, Burnett, right? Like, I just want to ask you guys, it's not first on my radar, but, like, was there anything that they did this season that they sold us in the offseason that we saw on the ice this year?
No.
3 signings that they had this year, and it was because of what? Power play. We heard of being able to score more.
Goaltending.
Offensively, it was supposed to be a whole lot better, and you didn't see that. And it's one of those don't make a quick reaction type of situations for them. But you also got to say if there was no improvement in that lane, then it's hard to just double down on it unless they're just not in a position to make this type of move because of buyouts, money, cash, whatever the case may be.
I wish that they had made a move quickly and gone and gotten Mike Sullivan before the Rangers did.
Yeah, me too.
Longtime Pittsburgh Penguins coach now in New York. Officially, you lost that opportunity. To me, it just puts Barry Trotz's job on the line, is what this does.
Right.
I think it's the wrong decision, but again, Barry Trotz, more understanding of the issues this organization has internally. You've got draft capital to work with. You have a decent group of prospects coming up through Milwaukee. If it doesn't work now in 2025 and 2026, I think in hockey, the plus side is you have a long enough season where you can make a change in November and still be good. I mean, heck, the Blues won the Stanley Cup with an interim coach and Craig Berube not that long ago. To me, though, if I'm Steven Stamkos, how do I feel about my coach being developed in real time? I'm in my mid to late 30s. I've already done everything I need to do. Like, how does that motivate me to put in my best effort when my coach is being developed?
That's where it offsets.
In real time. It doesn't make sense with a lot of the moves that they've made to bring in veteran talent to win now. And Barry Trotz made this statement about holding all the players on the roster accountable that I thought was interesting. Said, it doesn't matter in terms of a player who's played 600 games or a player who's played 6. There should be an accountability factor. Obviously, guys who have had long NHL careers or been in the league for a long time have a longer rope. But in terms of the respect for all those guys, that has to be the same. I know that's key with Andrew. And Trotz identified holding players accountable as a tool that Andrew Burnett has to add at this point in his career. I think it's the wrong move. I think the Preds love running it back because I think the Preds are bad at losing.
I think there's been 2 really not great moves in the past 2 years. Signing UC Saros to the long 8-year term deal. We talked about this. I just think that was way too much giving, I love UC Saros. I think he's a good goaltender. I don't think 8 years and keeping here and getting rid of your other young talent was the right move. Yeah. And, now General Manager Barry Trotz, who had no experience being a general manager before. Let's remember that, guys.
He has never
been a general manager, keeping another coach who's never proven himself in terms of long-term as a head coach.
It's fascinating.
That's a lot of us.
What's that?
That's a lot of uh-ohs.
Yeah, and just looking at the age of the guys, too, I think means the most. Like, if Brunetti's in a position to be a resetting of culture, at 34 and 35 for the Fridge, they signed last year, was the Stamkos and
Marchessault, yeah.
Marchessault. Like,
and Brady Shea as well.
And Brady Shea, too. Like, those dudes have some age on them, and resetting a franchise isn't part of what I'm sure they want to be doing with what they were brought in to do. That sucks right there.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
No doubt. It could work. I mean, if Barry Trotz really feels like he can be hands-on with Andrew Burnett and develop him into a legitimate coach in this league, then maybe this is the right decision. But it's putting a lot of pressure on him to make the call. The Preds, even when they were good in 2017 and made the Stanley Cup final, they ran it back too much for me. And they're just doing that again. The Preds as an organization have always overcorrected towards continuity and running it back. And for me, they do it far too often. They're not good enough at losing to understand when to hit the reset button and not double down on their own culture and their own ideas, and they've done it forever. I mean, heck, Barry Trotz didn't lead the Preds to a winning season in his first 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Now, granted, expansion teams back then got a lot less help than the expansion teams in Seattle and Vegas have gotten now.
Well,
so it's not a total apples to oranges comparison because those two teams got handed like 4 second lines.
Well, it's not helping Seattle. They're on their 3rd coach in like 3 years.
Well, they had a good opportunity from the beginning to be successful. They just didn't do it as well as Vegas did. But they run it back too much as an organization, and they're doing it again. Is my take.
And I just think you're not letting anyone go. Like that is like
the
kind
whole
of
coaching staff.
That's kind of crazy to me.
It's hard to sell that to the fan base
Ooh,
for me.
That's hard.
Is there young guy development then that's taking place that you believe in?
A guy who's 51. Andrew Burnett.
No,
Yeah.
no. I love hockey and I love the Preds, but no.
That's not it, though. Oh, my, Kayla. Well,
We'll see.
it's
The beauty of it is, again, in hockey, I always try to find some kind of positive.
Sure.
The positive of it is, if Andrew Burnett is bad, you're making another move about 20 games into the season. I mean,
True.
seriously.
before the
And you can
Christmas
still
break.
be successful after that. But
Right.
I would go ahead and make it now. And I would have done it weeks ago so you could have gotten ahead of the line and gotten Mike Sullivan. But that opportunity is now gone. Coming up next, VolQuest's Awesome Price will join us. When is Joey Aguilar expected to be on campus in Knoxville? And how involved can he be, along with other quarterbacks, in player-led workouts as Tennessee gets ready for more workouts through the summer as classes wrap up? We'll get the latest on the hardwood, the grass, maybe even the diamond with VolQuest's Austin Price after this.
It's Ramon and Kayla here with a big deal from Window Nation. Now save big during Window Nation semi-annual sale. How big? Well, 60% off and a free exterior door when you get a whole house of windows. Plus, Kayla, the coolest part is this, man. 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 2 full years.
Ooh, you cannot beat that. Just like you want to beat, though, the heat this summer because temperatures are going to start to crank up, going to be really nice today. And maybe that means you want to keep that AC indoors. We know that's what you want to do is save some money. Window Nation is the company to do it. They're going to have a 50-point inspection of every window before it even leaves the factory, 20-point inspection of every window when it's installed. So you know that the installers who have, by the way, over 15 years of experience, they're going to do it right the right time. They've got over 45,000 5-star reviews, 1,500 colors and styles to choose from, so it will fit your home. All you got to do for a fast free estimate today with the pros at Window Nation, call 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, locally owned in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We get amazing Vols info and content Tuesdays here at 8:20 on the show, as we are pleased to be joined this morning by VolQuest's Austin Price. Good morning, Austin. How are you?
Much better info than you get on Friday.
Oh, fighting words. I love it. Out of the gates quickly today. This is what I expect of you, Austin, when the glass breaks. This is what I expect of you. Let's begin, Austin, with the timeline for Joey Aguilar. Is there any update on when he can get to campus, and how involved will you expect him to be here in the near future in some of these player-led workouts and getting to work with his new teammates?
Well, I think once he gets here, it will be, very much accelerated. He's been looking at the playbook and trying to familiarize himself with it. Coach Halsey's been on the road recruiting, so I don't think they've spent a ton of time on Zooms or anything to this point. But if everything works out, Joey told me last night that they're trying to get all his stuff finalized with Appalachian State for graduation. If he's able to get all that done and get everything sent over, he could be here next week. So, that's the hope. Again, best laid plans sometimes, but the hope is he could be on campus as early as next week.
Awesome. With that being said, do they have the ability to, and does the NCAA allow Zoom meetings to be happening as far as breaking down the playbook as much as he can learn before he can get on campus?
Absolutely. That's the thing is even if he hadn't been able to get here till June, because let's say he wasn't taking the online classes at Appalachian State to get his degree and graduate. That's the thing that's kind of getting him here earlier than June because of UCLA's quarter system. He could have still been on Zoom, even if he was in town, even if he just said, all right, I'm going to finish out everything online through June, I'm going to go ahead and go to Knoxville. He couldn't have went to team workouts, but he could have absolutely set one office over and done Zoom with Coach Halsley. He could have been in the building. You just couldn't have done team activities. So, he will hit the ground running as soon as he gets here. But, yes, absolutely. Right now, he could do as many Zooms with whoever that he wants to do.
Austin Price of VolQuest, our guest. So, Austin, when he does get to town, and he wants to work with the number one receivers. And then I imagine Jake Merklinger wants to have a player-led workout with, top receivers. And then George McIntyre competition. Like, how does that division of practice work, Austin? And how involved can coaches be in facilitating, hey, you work with these guys, you work with this, and let's put together a practice plan during the spring and summer months?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I'll say this. He doesn't have a lot of receivers to be able to be rolling three deep with anything. So, I mean, I think if you're working with the ones or twos, you're working with the top guys on the team. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this works. I mean, you're going to have an open competition, so you're going to have guys jockeying to try to, hey, let's go throw. Well, I've already committed to go throw with this quarterback. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to kind of watch how this happens because, again, Merklinger's been here the longest. But even George has been here for a handful of months more than Joey Aguilar to this point. But Joey Aguilar has all of the experience overall, so over the other two. So going to walk in the door and be a little bit behind, just the knowledge of the offense, but be way ahead in terms of playing experience at this level.
So, Austin, one of those receivers that will also not be in that room, Cal transfer Jonathan Brady commits to Indiana over the weekend. What ultimately do you think made the difference for Indiana over Tennessee, who had a visit with him?
Yeah, I think for Tennessee, they've been searching for someone to be their fourth/fifth wide receiver, and that's hard because a lot of these kids that are in the portal, they want to be starters. And so Tennessee's been very transparent with the kids, like, we'd love to have you. We think you can add a lot to our room, but, as far as starting, there's definitely no guarantee there. And right now you'd be behind the eight ball with the guys like, Mike Matthews and Chris Brazel and Braylon Staley. So that part of it is, a dynamic that most people don't think about. The other dynamic is like if you're watching the film, if you're watching the tape, and you think the guys that you have right now are better than the player that you're looking at, spending a bunch of money in NIL doesn't make a ton of sense. Now, where Tennessee kind of got themselves sideways, I think, is the fact they did not take anybody in December. I think that's where this thing got off the rails a little bit. The players in this spring window aren't nearly as talented as some of the receivers that were out there back in December.
Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3 join us today. We speak a lot, Austin, about the wide receivers, man, but it's the offensive group that could have a lot of production this year. Is it the tight end group to you too, man? Because besides Miles Kissman being the senior guy there's a lot of talent, man. And not to even mention what Jack Van Dorslayer can also contribute to, whether it be blocking or in the pass game too.
Well, you better get to work on those names.
I said it well yesterday, Austin.
You did. Can confirm.
Yeah, I said it well yesterday.
Saying them Tuesday and Friday with me and saying them with Mike Keith on Saturday is totally different.
I'll get there. I'll get there.
Now, I think that there's talent there, right? Now, some of it's still young talent. But Van Dorslayer is someone who had a great spring. Kitzelman's going to be back. He's ahead of pace. He's ahead of the schedule. And that's great news for Tennessee's offense because they need him to one, be very present, be a leader. I mean, that offensive side of the ball, to me, he's the guy that sets the tone. Yeah. I mean, if you go back to, spring practice, he was as vocal as anybody, during practice, and especially during the open team period or the open individual periods that we were out there. I mean, he was like a second or third tight end coach. So to me, you need to get him back. Ethan Davis has got to continue to progress. And then some of those young guys, Deshaun Brain, Jack Van Dorslayer, what does Cole Harrison look like as a redshirt freshman? I do think, for all those quarterbacks, right, the tight end can be such a safety net. And I think this group can be that for whoever the quarterback is.
For sure. And speaking of the quarterback, you brought up something with Will there I thought was very fascinating, considering the position that all three of these guys in with Merklinker, McIntyre, and Aguilar. We're talking about Aguilar like he's a new kid on school, or whether it's a boy or the girl, and everybody of the opposite sex is trying to figure out who they are. I was like, man, have you seen the new girl? Have you seen the new guy? But what I say that to say this, we're intrigued by him. But knowing George McIntyre and Jake Merklinker, do you see those guys in any particular fashion just conceding, saying, you know what, yeah, go do your thing, and especially considering, with Merklinger getting a new deal as of recent?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anybody conceding it, and that goes for either guy. I think the accelerators hit for George a little bit more than it was 6 weeks ago. I think 6 weeks ago he knew, I might get in as the third quarterback in one or two games this year, but, I can just kind of, ease my way in, and now it's like, let's at least get into the shallow end of the pool. We ain't got to jump into the deep end, but let's at least get into the shallow end, feel how the water is. So I think that, George is super competitive. And then Merklinger, again, 6 weeks ago he thought, I'm going to be the backup, so I'll get into a handful of games, get some tape out there, and then all of a sudden it morphs. I mean, the day of the spring game, and how many people were tweeting QB1, 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 QB1. And I don't agree with that because you just are assuming he's the guy, right? Where in reality, it was always going to be a competition, and Jake Merklinger is going to have to go out there and win it. And that would be the case even if, they had not been able to find Joey Aguilar and they just went to a lower level and got a quarterback for depth purposes, and it was GMAC and Jake battling it out. So, I think for both those guys, they're a little more focused than they were 6 weeks ago, in some ways a lot more focused than they were 6 weeks ago. And, they both got a real shot to try to win this thing. And that includes George McIntyre, who, again, people go discount because he's the true freshman, but I don't think you can discount anybody. I think it just boils down to how each person plays in August.
Austin Price, our good friend of VolQuest, joined us this morning on RKW. You got to love these way too early mock drafts, right? And we did this with James Pierce last year, but obviously Jermod McCoy is on some of these lists. Pro Football Focus has him as a first-round pick, I think 8th overall right now. But in all seriousness, with Jermod McCoy, now you got me in my head, coming off of that ACL, how prepared is he, and do you feel like he can even take another step in that secondary this year?
I think a lot of it depends on how quickly he can get back, Kayla. Jermod is someone who is driven. He's really, really talented, but now that you've added Colton Hood, maybe he doesn't have to feel the pressure to be ready week one. Maybe it's more like, you know what, let's just get back and be ready the quickest we can, for the biggest game, right? So like it's week 3, Georgia. I think it does to me like the added depth with Colton Hood is a big addition, whether it means he's playing some corner, playing some nickel, whatever. I think he gives you versatility. He allows other guys to focus on maybe other spots or become, not as dependent on other areas. And, for Jermod, I think that's a nice luxury to have because the last thing you want to do is rush back too soon coming off of this ACL injury. A kid had, very successful surgery, but at the same time, you still want to prepare and rehab and go at your own pace. He may, heal up quicker than normal and be full go by the first game and you're not blinking an eye. But he may also, heal a little bit slower and it may take him a few extra weeks. So I think for Jermod, it's about being healthy and playing your best football and not rushing back too quick and playing, careless football. So I think the addition of Colton Hood allows that. But Jermod is a super talented kid that, deserves everything he got a year ago.
Austin, did you hear of anything specifically when it came to him transferring, why this was maybe a better fit?
In terms of why he left Corvallis, I think.
No, for Hood, sorry.
Oh, for Hood. I think for him, it's fairly close to home. He started his career at Auburn, went to, and redshirted, went to Colorado, played a ton of snaps, played really good football opposite Travis Hunter. So you're going to get all the balls thrown your way because nobody wants to throw at the Heisman Trophy winner. And the kid held up really, really well. He's a fairly tall corner. He's probably about the same size as Jermon McCoy or thereabouts. And, I think for him, it was location, what Tennessee had to offer, and, just the ability to be back in the SEC and kind of work Tennessee and what Tennessee needed.
VolQuest Austin Price joining us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Austin, switching gears to the hardwood. Amaro Morgan comes in as the Rod Clark replacement on Rick Barnes' staff. What about him was appealing to Tennessee, and what about this job do you think led him to 1 month after taking a job at FSU decide, no, I'm going to keep those boxes packed and then just take them on to Knoxville?
It's kind of like William Inge. Went to Alabama for 5 minutes and then came to Tennessee.
Right.
I think for Amaro Morgan, it's a chance to coach with Rick Barnes to get the rub of a Hall of Fame coach. Tennessee's roster's going to be pretty good next year. As for Tennessee, their interest, he's young. He can relate well to players. He's done a fantastic job at each step along the way. And I think someone that, obviously Rick Barnes had paid attention to, and he'd caught Rick Barnes' eye. And, when Rod Clark, he dabbled with Michigan a year ago, and then he dabbled again with Indiana. And then when that became real, it was just really easy just to pick up the phone and go, hey, I know you just got to Tallahassee, but, I've got a spot open. And Amaro Morgan obviously said, yep, I'll see you there.
Austin, what kind of impact can Clarence Masamba have for this team? And Amari Abram maybe slotted into that starting position. But with one scholarship open still on this roster, how comfortable are you with how Tennessee is reloaded for next season? And do you see them being aggressive in filling that spot or keeping it open for weeks to come here?
I think they've done a nice job. Masamba is an athletic kid that can shoot it. I like Abram. The kid's bounced around a lot, but he's been consistent as far as his ability to shoot the ball. He made nearly 73s last year. At Louisiana Tech, kid has been productive each step along the way. And if Tennessee needed somebody that's got some experience that can shoot the basketball, they've got some experience put around Nate Ament now, whether it be Abram or Jacoby Gillespie. Masamba's got the international experience. And as far as that one spot, I think they'll be very patient with that. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about, what happens with the 5-year thing. What does that mean for Gainey or any of the others? And, Rick Barnes has been pretty open about the fact that, he could see with the House case, likely passing coming up here in a month and a half or so, the scholarship numbers could go from 13 to 15. Well, all of a sudden, you're going to have 3 potentially instead of 1. And so everybody can start connecting the dots there. I don't know if all that happens to the point where Zakai's back, Meshak's back, Gainey's back, but obviously Tennessee's going to be very patient, and that's something everybody is monitoring, including people on campus. So we'll see what happens with the 5-year deal. I do think that, I'm a firm believer that it's going to pass at some point, probably in July, maybe it gets to August. When that happens, I'm also a firm believer that as much as they want to say that it's going forward, that's not going to fly. So I don't know why they would even do that. Like, I think you just say, look, if you've got an extra year and you haven't played professionally, then obviously you would be eligible to return to school. That includes people that played 5 years ago if they want to. Now, I mean, our school's going to take somebody that's like 28 years old, probably not, that hasn't been doing anything but working at the whatever.
The radio station.
So, I mean,
I'll come back, Austin. I'm 27. I'm still within my 5 years.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, the NCAA hasn't won those type cases when it comes to the, it's something you have to have a common sense. Like, you can't go, well, it's just going forward. Well, what do you mean it's just going forward? Like, if you only play 4 years and you have a fifth, then you should be able to use it if somebody's willing to take you on their team and has the scholarship open. So, I think that's why all this stuff continues to kind of hang around. We'll see what happens with it. Again, do the players even want that, right? I mean, if, Zakai had a magical end to his career in a lot of ways. I know it didn't end with the championship or anything, but, I mean, a fantastic senior year. Meshak made that huge three against Alabama to win the game. And so, like, to me, Gainey's always been the one that made the most sense because he was only here for 2 years, getting an extra year when Tennessee needs somebody that can shoot it from the outside. And as much as he grew from year 1 to year 2, like, if he continues to grow, as far as his game, then I think that Tennessee could really benefit from having, him on this roster. So again, we'll see how it all happens. But that's kind of where all this chatter, remains and hangs in the balance.
Austin, since Ole Miss, the Baseballs and Tony Vitello have lost their last 3 SEC series, including 2 ejections. Is it time to panic for the baseball team up in Knoxville now?
Panic? No. But, I mean, they better win the series this weekend and be competitive in Fayetteville next weekend. I don't believe you can just, flip it on its head and flip the script and everything be fine, 2 weeks from now. Like, you better figure things out these next 2 series. And I don't think you have to win both. I think you definitely got to win this weekend. It's at home against Vanderbilt. I think you better be super competitive at Arkansas, which means you can't get swept, and you have to be in every game. I think that matters. Obviously, Arkansas is coming off the series win over Texas, which knocked Texas out of being the number 1 team in the country. This team, at the end of the day, Ramon, you know how this works. It's sports. If you can't score, you can't win. And right now they're struggling to score runs. In game 2, a game they won, when it was 4-4, when the second game resumed on Sunday, they had 13 hits and only had four runs. I mean, they're making mental errors on the base paths. Some of that's on the kids, some of that's on, Coach Elander, waving them home when, didn't need to. And, they're making, poor decisions at the plate. The umpires obviously didn't give them a great favorable strike zone this past weekend. And then, the pitching staff has not been what they had hoped. But, again, this is a team that still has a ton of talent. If they can get it flipped, they can be right there. 2 years ago, they had to go on the road to Clemson for the regional. They were able to win that, go to Hattiesburg, win the Super Regional against Southern Miss to go to Omaha. You can get it done. The difference is 2 years ago, Tennessee started slow in SEC play and then kind of, heated up. This year, they started fast and then have kind of fallen off. And that's the problem is, you're not trending up. Right now you're trending down, and can you just level off here over the next couple of weeks?
He is Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3, joining us this morning at Austin Priceless, where you follow him on Twitter. Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you, Austin. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Austin.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Austin Price I promise you, nobody wants me to come back for any eligibility.
Absolutely.
I don't
Still
even
in
know if
that
I
window?
want that. I think I'm trying to think. When did I graduate? I guess my window just closed.
Just
It
close.
was 6
Okay.
years ago. I graduated college in 2019.
It was
so
19.
My clock would have just ended. I could go back as a
Wild.
golfer. I'm closer to being a
There you
competitive
go.
golfer now than a
You,
runner, and
yeah.
I've broken 100 twice.
I doubt it.
So that tells you how bad of a runner I am
He
at this
lying.
point in my life. 615-737-1045. Speaking of football recruiting, there was a 5-star prospect from Nashville who committed to an SEC school yesterday, and we'll talk about that next.
Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home, man, it comes from your crawl space. Have you ever looked in your crawl space as of late? I get it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there, but moisture in your crawl space can create unhealthy issues that can make their way into the air you breathe into your home every single day. It's Ramon Foster, and this is where United Structural System can help you out. USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994, so you know they aren't going anywhere. Help control moisture and musty smells with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes with the USS guarantee. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space. It also helps deter mold and mildew and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. So turn your crawl space into a healthy space. Again, USS is the company for all your foundation and waterproofing needs. So go ahead and reach out to the company I trust at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
I am your friendly reminder, folks, that Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday. Do not forget. You don't want to forget the most important woman in your life. Mother's Day, you can give her a call. That's fine. But you can also give her a gift that she's going to remember, and that is Aura Frames. Aura Digital Picture Frame is what everybody wants in on right now because guess what? They were voted the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter and featured in 495 gift guides just last year. Aura has a great deal going on for Mother's Day for a limited time. Listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off. Plus, that's a plus there, you're going to get free shipping on their best-selling Carver mat frame. So it pretty much can fit in anything in terms of the living room, your mom's room, whatever you want. That is auraframes.com. And then you can type in promo code ZONE. That's ZONE. Support the station by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
RKW, fueled by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. We'll hit you with some rapid-fire headlines we've not yet gotten to. Coming up to begin hour number 4 in 15 minutes, 615-737-1045, the number. Yesterday, Nashville Christian quarterback Jared Curtis committed to Georgia over Oregon. Guys, his comp from On3 is the last number 1 overall quarterback to commit to Georgia, Matthew Stafford.
Whoa-wee.
For Jared Curtis.
Hey.
Congratulations to him. On3 writing, he strongly considered South Carolina, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, and Ole Miss during the process. It was down to Georgia and Oregon. This guy I have been hearing about for years, and he's been starting for years. He's a 3-year starter at this point for Nashville Christian. 7,665 passing yards, 92 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
In his career so far, he's gained 1,600 yards and 38 touchdowns on the ground. That is where Jared Curtis is a big-time prospect. Very mobile, very athletic, very talented player.
He's impressive from a smaller school perspective, too, right? Like, you think about that big of a recruit, and I was almost hearing he might lean towards Oregon at one point, too. But I think it's probably good for him to have a little bit more of like you're staying closer to home. You're in the SEC country. I mean, what's wrong with committing to Georgia? I mean, look at what Georgia has done in the past several years. And in terms of like having a quarterback like that has that kind of a comparable thing to Matthew Stafford, that doesn't come along
says a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely
very
says
often,
a lot.
for sure. Say,
and his situation, too, is I thought was super unique. Was decommitted to open up his recruiting. I thought that's fair. That's what Dabo wants guys to do, right? For the most part, like, you don't commit and visit. So it's good on him to get the full experience of his recruiting. It's like being a 5-star is rare in general.
Mm-hmm.
And a quarterback, like, you're supposed to take all your visits, man. Congratulations to him and his family.
Awesome.
That is huge. That's big time. I was messing with a guy I'm building a bridge with for us at the show, DJ Shockley, Georgia alum himself. And I was just like, man, here you guys go stealing another quarterback out of the state of Tennessee. I was like, well, I can't be mad considering how many times we poach you guys in Georgia. So
that's right.
Big old recruiting pool down there. It just says a lot, though. When I look at the type of coaches that recruit guys, I know Tennessee gets a bad rap when it comes to recruiting at times. It has gotten tremendously better here in the state. Mm-hmm. I saw a post the other day of the top 10, or was it top 100, whatever it was, prospects for MLB. The most was the state of Tennessee. It was crazy of high school prospects, whatever it was. Yeah, but with that being said, kudos to him. Shines a bright light on the state again. And I know a lot of people are asking, well, why didn't he go to Tennessee? Tennessee is having their own recruiting with Faison Brandon
out of Grimsley in North Carolina.
And then also look at George McIntyre and him being in the same.
Talent.
I mean, right after one another here in the state. Yeah.
Western North Carolina is not obviously the state of Tennessee, but it is about the same distance from Knoxville as Nashville is.
Yeah.
It's comparable. So being able to go get somebody from the Carolinas, like when Tennessee is competitive in football, it's because they're recruiting the Carolinas exceptionally well. I mean, you look at those 90s rosters.
Oh, my gosh.
You're recruiting North and South Carolina extremely well. Nashville Christian coming off a state title in D2 Single A. They beat Columbia Academy 49-21 last season. Their schedule this season, they've got Innsworth on the schedule this year, which will be a very, very fun matchup. And obviously, Tim Hasselback at Innsworth, what they were able to do going undefeated in the regular season last year and taking on a Nashville Christian team with a 5-star quarterback. Book your Friday night plans for August 29th this fall when Innsworth takes on Nashville Christian. So last year, Nashville Christian, and then you talk about the smaller division in D2 Single A for Jared. Well, they went up against BGA, who was the runner-up in D2 AA behind CPA. Mm-hmm. Work with me. A lot of acronyms. But many of you guys know them. But they were within a touchdown of BGA last season and Bobby Bentley's program, which I think is going to be a contender as long as Bobby Bentley is there with what he's building up at BGA. It was a 35-28 game last season. So they certainly did it against a really good team as well in Battleground Academy last season. Wish him all the best and representing Nashville, representing the state. I think he will do really well at Georgia. And he is, he's a big talent. He's just a big guy.
He's a big guy, 6'3.5".
Big prospect.
225.
It's the highest rated quarterback prospect Georgia has had since Justin Fields coming into the Bulldogs program.
I always forget about that.
They're going to need a quick
Justin
answer
Fields
at quarterback at some point in time. I do root for those guys, even for Ty Simpson, that leave the state to go to other teams too, because it's a representation of quality more than
He's
anything.
been dedicated to Alabama,
he has been dedicated. He's also a coach's kid.
Yep.
Ty Simpson. So I'm sure him hitting the portal was a long conversation with Dad.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not.
I still wonder what the world would have looked like for Ty Simpson if Tennessee had not had a coaching change 2 months from his commitment date.
I would have too.
When Jeremy Pruitt, because I know a lot of the talk at the time was that if Jeremy Pruitt had been retained after the 2020 season, which again is not what Tennessee should have done, but if they had, let's say, Ty Simpson may have still ended up being a Vol. I mean, granted, he probably would have transferred when Pruitt eventually got fired because Pruitt was going to get fired. But I think there was a world where that could have still happened. Again, Austin and Brent would have more knowledge about that. But I remember that conversation at least happening, that just the timing wasn't good for when Tennessee made a change for Ty to make his commitment.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can circle the wagons again with his younger brother. I heard he is a dog.
Yeah, big time. Graham is the real deal. Graham Simpson at Westview.
Is Graham is his name? Okay, I think he was up for Mr. Football or state championship as a freshman or sophomore.
Is there another one behind that one?
Let's just get Graham signed up first. I'm just worried about this one.
One at a time.
I'm just worried about this one. Yeah, he visited Tennessee actually last month. Graham Simpson did, but we're already on to the class of 2028.
I know.
Stop.
That's what he is. He's class of 2028. Yeah.
That's wild.
Don't say that because it making me
He'll
think
be a
about
sophomore in high school this upcoming season. Like this guy can't even drive a car yet, probably. But that's college football. That's recruiting.
Yes,
He's 6 feet now. Probably be 6'3" by the end of this sentence. 615-737-1045. Headlines for you that we have missed. There is a college football series that is going to happen for the next decade plus that I am a big fan of. That's next.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
It is 9 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Good morning. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Baltimore Ravens announced yesterday they decided to release five-time All-Pro kicker Justin Tucker in what general manager Eric DeCosta called a football decision. The news comes months after reports that he was accused of inappropriate behavior by 16 massage therapists. The Ravens then drafted kicker Tyler Loop from the University of Arizona in the 6th round this year. The Nashville Predators and general manager Barry Trotz announced yesterday that they are standing with Andrew Burnett as head coach as he will return next season. The Predators finished the season 28 points out of a playoff spot and will hold the 5th overall pick in the NHL draft in Los Angeles on June 27th and 28th. And the trend of top seeds losing early in round 2 of the NBA playoffs continued last night as New York Knicks rallied from down 20 points to beat the Boston Celtics, who missed an NBA record 45 three-pointers last night in a 108-105 loss in Game 1 to the Knicks. Also, the Denver Nuggets take down the West number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder 121-119 in Game 1, thanks to Nikola Jokic's 42 points and 22 rebounds. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We transition into the 4th and final hour on this Tuesday morning with the crew all present and accounted for. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. So our plan over the next couple of weeks and even months is to have on someone with boots on the ground covering every SEC football team. This is the RKW Spring Practice Series. We're going to start local with Vanderbilt coming up in just about 15 minutes. Chris Lee of Vandy 247 will join us. It's the perfect time to start with Vanderbilt as well, considering that Tennessee and Vanderbilt play a little bit of baseball this weekend. So we'll maybe discuss that at the end of our conversation with Chris coming up here in a few minutes as well, because as one Tennessee college baseball team goes down, Vandy is trending up, and they are pitching very well right now, and that is a problem for Tennessee considering they are not hitting well at all. So we'll get the latest on that with Chris Lee coming up here in just a few minutes. We have got a series that has been scheduled for the next 12 years in college football. Did you guys see this from Ross Dellinger this morning? Clemson and Notre Dame will play every season starting in 2027 through 2038.
Mm-hmm. It is no surprise because we always joke a little bit about Notre Dame not being in a conference. And if they were in a conference, it would probably be the ACC at this point. And this would be something that you would always see every single year is a meeting of Notre Dame and a program like Clemson. And with Notre Dame on the up and up, with Marcus Freeman there and obviously the run that they made this year in the college football playoffs, this makes sense. It's fun to see, and you need that if you're Notre Dame. You need a big program every single year. I know they've got the USCs and everything, but this is just kind of a given then moving forward to have a program like Clemson, high end. They usually have pretty good solid seasons with Dabo, so I like it. I think it's really exciting.
So I think what is interesting about this is it means they're still going to play if and when Clemson leaves the ACC. That's the caveat that makes this interesting.
Yeah, and that's all.
So this counts towards the 5 games that Notre Dame has to play with ACC teams, but essentially it's like a handshake between them saying, hey, by the way, when both of us are in different scheduling formats in 10 years, let's keep getting together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm going to start just renaming Notre Dame Deuce Bigelow. It's just the name for him. Deuce Bigelow, male
Deuce
gigolo.
Bigelow.
Just a male gigolo. Like, they have problems with commitments. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to commit to a conference whatsoever. Just Deuce Bigelow's the name for them right now. Just around the way type of, like, organizations, what they are. And it's ironic because they're Catholic.
funny.
Like, that's the furthest thing away from what they want to be is just out here in these streets like that. But they clearly, I cracked them. I got Will with that one right there. Last thing they want to do, Kayla, is commit. Like, why?
They don't.
Y'all want to do everything but give
don't
up the
have to.
bag. Listen, they trying to protect that in case of a split divorce. You see what I'm saying?
They don't need to commit.
I know they don't
They
need
have
to
a seat
commit.
at the table as it is.
I'm okay with calling them Deuce Bigelow then. Like, they just gigolos out here, man, doing whatever they want
Their
to.
AD has the power of every other conference commissioner.
Straight up.
Yeah, they
it
do.
does.
I mean, there's no reason for them to give it.
I mean, I get it. I'm with it. But seriously, it gives them a little bit of stability. And also it's one of those situations, if Clemson is going to be what they have been historically, especially in years like this year, right,
Yeah.
where they're competitive, their head coach has a name. You have that one win on your resume, or loss for that matter.
Sure.
It gives you more validation as to get in one of those spots when it comes down to the college football playoffs. You say to yourself, we play Clemson. Look at them in whatever division or conference they're in, as opposed to, whatever USC is going to turn into be. I heard Buck and Lucas them speaking about yesterday. What is Lincoln Riley out there right now? So
Big year for him.
It gives them a southeastern
Yet to be proven.
type
there.
of team to play against. Logistically, it makes more sense for them too.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lincoln Riley's proven he's got a good thing there. It's just not a great thing.
Yeah, but now you're in the Big Ten, right? I mean, and there are a lot of other better programs that are proven in the Big Ten right now than what Lincoln Riley has done at USC. And I think there were so many expectations for him to meet there.
Oh.
First of all, when he was in the Pac-12, which that wasn't as tough of a conference. Now it's like, now you're with the big boys, and you're still a little bit not to where you probably should be.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because again, you hired him to elevate USC again. I don't see USC as back to being a program we're talking about all the time.
I can see for what you meant. For what they meant for what
Yeah.
the Big 12 was, they're an afterthought almost in the Big 10 conversation. Oregon, to me, to your same point, have somewhat replaced them at the seat at the table more than anything. Now, they can go get it back. Supposedly have a good quarterback they're supposed to be able to get in. And
Don't they always?
Lincoln Riley, yeah, that's true too. Lincoln Riley's supposed to be one of those guys that are corrected. This is a nice test for them, though. But they're not, to me, where they were when they were big dogs in the Big 12. I mean, not the Big 12, the Pac-12.
He elevated them right away. They were a quarter away from making the playoff when Caleb Williams won the Heisman, but they haven't been able to sustain that. It's harder to sustain
And that defense wasn't great at that point, too, with Caleb, when it was the Caleb year, I guess.
It is interesting. They are the #1 recruiting class in the country right now for high school recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
It's early.
For 2026. It is very early.
It's
very early. And they have more commits than anyone. They have 27 guys already in.
Already?
For 2026.
Wow.
You know what they're trying to stop?
On 3.
Southeast Conference from jumping in there.
Well, and 2, it's kind of like when Tennessee briefly had the #1 class in the country under Jeremy Pruitt, because they had like 20 guys. How many of those guys made it to campus? About 2.
I do
like
remember
literally
that
about 2. When they had the Brooks kid, the edge rusher from Alabama, Dylan Brooks,
Yeah.
was the big one. He ended up going to Auburn. Didn't end up really becoming much. It's about getting them to campus. It's all nice in May, but get them to campus.
And of course, I mean, bags change from now until December. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to talk about the summer money that's got to be made for those places. So it's fascinating. I personally, it'd be hard to go to USC.
Really? Why's that?
From the Southeast, logistically, the price, as far as like what you have to spend to go out there too. And then to me,
interesting place.
I hadn't heard from football players. Mind you, my population of conversation has been in football players.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard from football players I've played with or been around that USC is a campus that you want to go to.
Yeah, I lived on it, so I can tell you firsthand, like USC, the campus, beautiful. USC, step outside one step of the campus, you better be finding something to do.
Like, I know there's stuff everywhere.
It's,
I've heard of some of my teammates getting pressed by guys like, hey, where you from? And you see me with my USC stuff on.
Yeah.
But that might not be the case for everybody out there, though, too. So.
They are one of the most interesting teams in college football this year because they led in the fourth quarter in all of their losses last season.
Oh.
Now, they don't get much credit for that. That's just kind of a caveat of like, this is how they lost. They got to fix it. Doesn't mean they're automatically just going to turn all those into wins, but they were in every game that they lost, including Notre Dame and Penn State.
That's fair.
last season, and they just couldn't finish.
Is that a false positive, though, with that? Because that conversation comes up.
Depends on the team, depends on the quarterback, depends on the coach. Like, I think it can be an indicator that you're better than what your record shows. And I think it might be for them, honestly.
Because this is the same conversation we had a little bit last year with the Titans scenarios, too. Like, they were within, 7 games of one-score games? Like, it's still just, you lost on number one, but two, it paints a picture that there was a little bit more there. And I feel like, judging how that season went last year, like, that's just what you were more than anything, instead of saying, like, you were that close.
I think the only difference, though, is the Titans also got blown out last year. And USC didn't really ever get blown out in games. Like, some of them got away from them late, yes, but like the Titans had one-score losses, but then they also had the Lions debacle.
It's one of them situations.
And the Colts game and stuff like that.
How much are you seeking comfort? And it's natural to do in sports. It really is.
Phase 2 of OTAs underway over at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. The info on what that means essentially means offensive players are going up against offensive players. Defensive players are going up against defensive players, Ramon. Is that the right way to describe the walkthroughs that are essentially happening right now at NFL complexes all around the country?
Absolutely. It's working individual stuff. Hey, guys, hold the bag. Let me punch the bags. Hey, DBs, mirror this guy and run your routes. It's drill work. It's getting acclimated to it. It's actually the coolest part, one of the coolest parts of the offseason when you get on field and start working as a group right there. This is where camaraderie is built.
I also love it when we get to talk to the rookies on Friday for the first time is they start to incorporate themselves with the veterans because they cross passes. The rookies come in and the veterans go out for a minute. The stories are always really fun in terms of like picking their brains and which, veterans they cross paths with and talk to. So that'll always be a fun conversation.
One of the most nervous parts is seeing those OGs walk in.
bet.
It's just like, oh, Lord, I'm not the big fish anymore.
Sure.
I'm not the shark anymore. You got to go prove that you are.
It was really funny on Bussin' with the Boys, 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. They had Marcus Mariota back on again.
I saw that.
And Taylor was talking about how when they drafted Marcus, Taylor and a lot of that roster, we talked about it last week, were all really good friends with Zach Mettenberger. And they were pretty upset that Marcus was drafted, many of them, because they believed in Zach Mettenberger. And Taylor goes, we were sitting in a meeting and we were looking out the window at rookie minicamp, and I watched Marcus throw. And Taylor goes, I looked at Zach and said, dude, you're so screwed.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That may be happening at Ascension St. Thomas
really
Sports Park this upcoming weekend when Cam Ward starts to spin a football on a Titans jersey.
But to that point, what matters to those vets?
Yeah.
Like, can you make plays for them?
It's pretty funny. So go listen to that episode with Marcus. There's a lot of good content in there with Will and Taylor who do a great job, and the entire Bussin' with the Boys crew. Shout out to Jack McPherson as well, who crushes it with those
fans. You see how quick?
No, it happens fast.
See how quick it can happen?
It happens fast, doesn't it? Happened fast with Jeffrey Simmons and Will Levis at the game against the Falcons.
Yes, it did.
When he was on camera going, man, I told y'all this boy could spin it.
Yep.
We got a quarterback. Well,
now again.
Here we are again, back to square one. The RKW Spring Football Series of the SEC begins when we come back. Chris Lee of Vandy 247. Let's talk some Vanderbilt football, maybe a little bit of baseball as well, coming up next. RKW is brewed by Scooters Coffee at 104.5 The Zone. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Crew is all here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. And through the next month plus, we're going to talk with someone covering every SEC football team. Every program moving forward into the summer months. And we start here locally with the Vanderbilt Commodores, as we are pleased to be joined by our good friend Chris Lee. You read his work at Vandy 247 and hear him as well, Southeastern 14. Great stuff covering the entire conference all year. Chris, what's going on, man? How are you?
It is a busy time of the year. We've wrapped up spring football. We've got baseball regionals on the horizon. And this is one of my favorite times, to be honest, because there's just so much to talk about in the world of college baseball, among other things. I know we'll talk football, but this is a fun time for me personally because it's tournament time, and that is what we live for.
I love it. It absolutely is. Well, we will certainly get to the big series this weekend in Knoxville and Tennessee and Vandy. As one program is ascending and one is descending, to say the least, going into Friday's game one. But Chris, starting with here locally, Vanderbilt and spring practice and just the way Clark Lee kind of finishes up spring ball and continues to add to the transfer portal, looking from the broad perspective, how has Vandy surrounded Diego Pavia for him and this program to take another step forward and build on the success they had last season coming up in 2025?
Well, look, I think you watched last season, and I think Diego Pavia meant more to his team maybe than any player in the country. Did things that nobody thought were possible, including yours truly. But what you got with Vanderbilt varied a lot once we got into the season, because about the midway point he got really banged up in that Kentucky game. And what he was able to do, I mean, he was a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, he beat Alabama by himself. I mean, and that shows you what they're capable of doing. But, they were also capable of losing to Georgia State. While the circumstances were a little bit different there, he was banged up. But the point I'm getting at is as Diego goes, Vanderbilt goes for the large part. And when Diego didn't go as well, he wasn't as healthy. And so priority number one was getting him some protection. And, guys, you look at their offensive line, it is big, finally, like a lot of the other teams in the league, and it is off the charts experienced. I mean, I think their whole starting line could be grad students, a lot of those grad transfers. They spent the offseason rebuilding, getting guys who were old and big. That is a success for football in the trenches, and I think that gives Diego Pavia a layer of protection a lot better. This is projecting, but the perception is it'll be a lot better than it was a year ago.
Chris Lee, Vandy 247, Southeastern 14, our guest. So, Chris, when you look at Eli Stowers and just his potential as not only a star in this league for next season, but maybe even as an NFL prospect moving forward as well, how high is the ceiling for him, and how much will this offense run through him this upcoming fall?
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell what his ceiling is, guys. As someone pointed out to me, this is his first full year in the tight end room. I mean, he was splitting time even at New Mexico State, I think, between the quarterback room and the tight end room. He got recruited to Texas A&M as a quarterback. I think he was barely inside the top 100 as a high school prospect as a quarterback. So he's a terrific athlete, and this is the first time he's put all of his attention towards being a tight end for a full year. And you saw last year, he was one of the better ones in the league, if not in the country. ESPN came out with his mock draft the other day, and he was the last pick of the first round. That is a massive, endorsement of his ability. A kid who's played tight end for 1 year being projected as a tight end at the next level. But I think that's the kind of talent and the ability that he's got.
Chris Lee, Vandy 247, Southeastern 16. Of course, there's 16 teams in the SEC now, so I should properly give that credit here.
Chris, man, when you look at this past offseason that Vanderbilt had also, Clark Lee did something, man. A lot of coaches have an issue with this, but I also say good coaches know when to say when. He ended up promoting Steve Gregory and also Nick Lazinski to be defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator. Why were those changes made for a guy that's defensive minded and a defensive head coach?
Well, I think being a head coach in the SEC encompasses a lot of stuff, right? And, with the transfer portal and all the stuff that goes into college football, NIL, I mean, a college football coach has always been busy, but this is like off the charts busy now. And this is me just thinking out loud, right? I mean, his reasons may have been different, but I look at it, and from a common sense standpoint, you're just going, man, I don't know how you have enough time in the day to do all you do in that role and then be the defensive coordinator. I guess he's thinking, I've got some guys now that are more familiar with what we want to do. We really, if you're Clark Lee, you're thinking we really, really escalated quickly in terms of defensive success a year ago. Now that we got some history, let's try to replicate that with some guys that know what we're going to do. So I can't tell you exactly the reason it was because I haven't asked him directly, but I would think that had a lot to do with it. Building that program to get a level of success defensively and then now turning that over so you can handle some of the other things that you have to do as a head coach.
No doubt about it. And Vanderbilt's added a lot of additions to their campus and specifically the football side of it. How big or how huge is this for Vanderbilt to have that end zone finish, man, to change the look and rebrand what Vanderbilt is trying to be moving forward in this SEC? Because it is, I'll be quite honest with you, it is dumb with how much money spent on facilities, but it's so necessary, Chris.
It is. Look, it is amazing that they have competed to the level that they have competed with what they've had. I mean, their facilities were a dead last in the SEC. And, look, they've still got some stuff to do. Their weight room is a joke. Oh. They've got to address that with some urgency, and I hope they will. But, between facilities, and that's what has always attracted talent and led, fueled the engine to success, they just haven't been there. You go in that place now, I mean, even just having that other end zone finished completely transformed the look and feel of the stadium. I think between that and the success, it kind of brought a level of excitement. I mean, that old bowl was just bland and boring, and it offered nothing. It was just a repository for other teams' fans. And now you got some success and an opportunity to fill the building and, a better roster. I think it's just one of the elements that's going to make Vanderbilt football more fun than it's been in a while next year.
Chris Lee, our good friend of Vandy247.com. We're doing a little preview of Vanderbilt football this upcoming season. We all know how the transfer portal works these days, and you're always going to lose guys. But Clark Lee has done a good job of also bringing guys in that fit the program. Who do you think the best add will be this year, Chris?
Internally, they would say it's Jordan White, the transfer center from Liberty who played with Chase Mitchell, who'll move inside. The Henderson kid, Bryce Henderson, the tackle they added. And they added a lot of guys, with a lot of experience between FBS and FCS. But I think Jordan White is the guy that they've circled. They say that at center, he's handled all the responsibilities in the way that they wanted to handle. So I think, that's one of the key pieces of your team, right? The guy that makes the calls and gets you ready and having a guy that's done that at a high level and knows everything to do and you can completely trust. I think that makes everybody feel better, coaches and players.
We've spoke a little bit about the general manager position now, on these college teams, and the Vols have yet to add that. Vanderbilt doing that with their general manager. How do you feel like that is working out in a program like Vanderbilt where they are trying to restart everything and get everybody on the same page? Does that help with, dealing with all the NIL? Like, have you seen that be a plus there having that?
Well, originally when Barton Simmons was the guy, right? I think the hope was that his expertise in the recruiting space, working for 24/7, would translate. It really hasn't. And to be fair to Barton, the game changed totally, right? Like, he gets that job, he comes in, and the world goes NIL and transfer portal. And Vanderbilt was 3 years as an institution slow to adapt to that. So you have seen his role kind of evolve into, okay, and you look now, they have a ton of latitude to get kids into grad school, and that's how they're doing this. You look at their offensive line, it's grad transfer, grad transfer, grad transfer, grad transfer. I think they've gotten really good at finding the space where they can get kids in who are old and have experience. So it shifted kind of from where his thing was to look at high school talent, and now a lot more of what they're doing because, guys, they brought in 19 transfers, which I never would have thought was possible at Vandy. So now I think that they are really doing well in that space. And Ghana, here's the funny thing. They are now having success in the high school space. I mean, they got the kid from West Tennessee, Harris, last week. That was a top 100 recruit. I think that's the highest rated recruit they've had, other than maybe Nephi Lealu and the 24/7 covering recruiting time. So that's kind of an interesting piece. Is now, and I think a lot of it is being bought into NIL. They're starting to have some success on the high school front too, with some pretty elite kids. And that part of it's kind of interesting too.
Chris Lee, Vandy 247 Southeastern 16 on YouTube, where you can find his work. So, Chris, looking at, again, holistically, maybe on the other side of things, where is this roster have question marks? What is maybe the weakness that Clark Lee still wants to get shored up moving forward through the summer and into fall camp?
I think it's offensive skill positions. The Trey Richardson kid that they added, the D2 kid, is a 10 300-meter kid. He'll play in the slot. He was super productive in college so far. We're going to see how that translates to this level. I think a lot is riding on him. Junior Sherrill's a competent receiver, but he's not a superstar in this league. They just don't have a lot of proven commodities there. I think Trey Harris is going to be one of the guys to watch this fall to see how that goes, because he gives them a level of speed that can take a top off the defense that they probably haven't had since Clark Lee has been there. But I think their receiving depth beyond that isn't terrific. It's probably still bottom third of the league, and that might even be generous. I think at running back, I'm still skeptical that they've got the backs that they need to have to succeed at a bigger level. But that said, their offensive line play hasn't been great. I think they think we solved the line and our running backs will get better. That remains to be seen. But I think just having the athletes that the really good teams in this league, I'm not even talking Georgia and Texas. They're probably never going to get there. But I mean that even like the Kentuckys and the Missouris and even last year, I know Tennessee didn't always have all the offensive success that it wanted. But you watch their athletes and their ability to move in space compared to Vanderbilt, and there's still a big difference. So I think closing that gap at the skill positions will be their challenge, and I'm not sure they've got enough guys that are real dudes in this league to do that, but we'll see.
Chris Lee of Vandy 247. Switching gears, Chris, to the Vandy Tennessee series this upcoming weekend, and looking at it from the Vanderbilt perspective, how have they righted the ship this season after a little bit of a bumpy start? And what about this pitching rotation makes them so special? Because it seems like with his back against the wall, Tim Corbin has found a way to get this program with some of the best, again, in the SEC this season.
Yeah, I think the narrative for the season has been interesting. The fan base, and I think to a large degree rightfully so, has been very up in arms that the teams are winning in this league have got power, and they've not had that. Now, I think there's some explanations to that. I think they've got kids on the team that have got some power skill that because of injury or unperformance, it just hasn't worked. But you did see them hit 4 home runs last week, and I know that's not the question you asked me, but I'm getting to it. So I think with all the focus on that, and when you think of Vanderbilt guys, you're thinking, starting pitching, you're thinking David Price and Kyle Wright and, Walker Buehler and all the kids that have played big league ball or been first-team All-Americans. And you look at the composition of their staff, and it's not that guy. J.D. Thompson is a really good pitcher, but he's probably more a typical 2 or 3 at Vanderbilt than he is a 1, and he's pitching out of the 1 spot. Cody Boker, a lot of staffs would be pitching out of the bullpen, and maybe should be pitching out of the bullpen. But then you go to Connor Fennell, their 3, who's been as good a 3 as there is in this league. And then you look beyond that they got a kid throwing against Louisville today in Austin Nye that's been maybe the best midweek starter in the SEC, if not the country. Once you get to postseason, he's available on the weekends, which hasn't been the case. And I think from, pitchers maybe 3 to 15, they're as good as anybody in the country. They've got a lot of deep arms. They can match you up. Sawyer Hawks has just been tremendous as kind of a bulk/late game reliever. And the point I'm making, I think they do it more through depth and having so many options. And people don't really pay attention to that and appreciate it because you're always looking at star power. For example, Liam Doyle in Knoxville. I mean, he's been almost unbeatable on Friday night. They don't have that guy, but if you can kind of get past that and get past the roster construction, their pitching depth is almost second to none, all the way down through the end of the roster. And I think that is how they've had success.
Chris Lee of Vandy247.com joining us now. We've now shifted to baseball. We got the series with Vanderbilt and Tennessee coming up this weekend. That is in Knoxville. Chris, Vandy's had a difficult time with the Vols in the last couple of years. How big, in speaking of the hitting part of things, should R.J. Austin be this weekend? Because he's cooled down as of recent, and you've seen a lot of these younger guys step up at the plate. But how big is he going to be if they want to get this series against the Vols?
Well, I think he's pretty big, Kayla. And you and I have watched him this year, and he had that shoulder injury that kept him out some time. Anytime a guy's production, and this is not a shot at RJ, but anytime a guy's production drops way off from what it was. Remember, he had a home run to dead center first week in the year. Did not homer again for like 40 games. He hit one last weekend. It makes me wonder if he's been playing through an injury or something else like that, because what they have gotten from him and what I think everybody expected they would get from him is so far off. I just don't have another explanation for it. And we did see him miss some time. But I think if you get him back, if you get him hitting doubles and triples and the occasional home run and getting on and stealing bases, that is the thing that Tennessee has really had issue with. It's containing base runners, especially when Phillips is on the mound. It's making infield throws that are just basics. Well, what puts pressure on a defense more than speed, and who's got more of it than R.J. Austin? Not a lot of teams. I do think that's a great point. I think he's a key thing to watch, or a key guy to watch in this matchup this weekend, because he can cause trouble for Tennessee where they have really had trouble stopping those kind of things.
Speaking of that, just being competitive in the SEC, you have a team in Texas that's number one right now, and they came in and did what Texas did, spend money and go get it. How has Coach Corbin been with the, the incorporation of NIL and the ability to recruit and stay ahead and keep that Vandy standard as high as you need it to be, especially with, the hate that's in Knoxville? I mean, it's loud, and I love it for both sides. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think it's good for the sport and for the state.
Yeah, I think to the portal, he was kind of slow to adapt, but did you look at their lineup this year?
Yeah.
They've got Riley Nelson, who's a really good transfer first baseman, JUCO kid, Mac Rose, who's their DH and part-time catcher, JUCO kid, Jacob Humphrey, their normal starter and right when he's healthy, transfer from UMass Lowell, Mike Mancini, their second baseman, transfer from James Madison. Their 2 and 3 pitchers, Cody Balker and Connor Fennell, transfers from Georgetown and Dayton. I think he has slowly adapted to it. Now, I think they know that they need to get more star power. In the portal, those guys are good players, but they may not be superstars for the most part. I think that'll be the next thing for them, and maybe using NIL to sort of maybe make coming to Vanderbilt attractive in some spots where it's hard to get kids who are getting 6-figure signing bonus offers out of high school. And look, they got one with Jonathan Vastine last year too. Vastine's a kid that normally is going to go take the money and go pro, but I think they were able to maybe be a little bit more competitive and talk a kid like that into coming back for senior year. I think those are the spots that he's used it. And I think as he's warmed up to the idea of getting transfers and kind of started to build the program back to where it was. I mean, let's face it, if the season starts or if the season ends today, I think they're a national seed based on their metrics. So I think he's gotten better at it. They've used it to fill really spots of need on the roster. But I think the next thing is to find that kind of superstar power like they used to have. And I'll be interested to see if he can do that.
Chris, you know how I know you're a true Nashvilleian? You said something right there that just really just made me smile. You said like get. Like Nashville people say like gat instead of like that at times. I've heard it so many times. You never noticed it?
I probably do it.
I know you do it. You said, Chris, you said like that. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That guy's from Nashville for sure.
I am.
I love
That's
it.
cool to hear.
I love it. Chris Lee has been our guest at Chris Lee 70, where you follow him on Twitter. Southeast of 16. If you are looking for the best people who have been talking college baseball all season, if you're getting in the sport this time of year, Southeast of 16 on YouTube. They crush it. Vandy 247 as well. Always good catching up with you, Chris. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Chris Lee with us talking some Vandy football and some college baseball as well.
That time of the year,
It
right?
is.
We're going to be talking regionals,
Telling you.
super regional soon.
Put up or shut up, baby. I love it.
So we will have a writer from every SEC team on
Yes.
by the end of the, I'd say, summer. Hopefully, our goal would be to have it by SEC Media Days. That way, when there's new info at SEC Media Days,
Get that.
I guess there's kind of new info, not really, but when there's kind of new conversation, let's say that during talking season, we'll be ready to go by that point.
Where
so good
is
stuff
it
with
this year,
Chris.
guys? SEC
I believe in
Media Days.
Atlanta again.
Oh,
I can
okay.
make a quick
Okay.
Google search and get you that answer.
Atlanta just, they get it all over there.
It is
It's a
in
popular place.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's my favorite place.
It's a nice
for it.
spot, though. Mercedes-Benz.
Atlanta is.
That's my personal favorite place. Tennessee will take the podium at Atlanta on July 15th.
Okay.
The College Football Hall of Fame is a great place to have that event.
Yeah. It
Great
fits.
place to have that event. Yes. And you're actually in a city, unlike Hoover, respectfully. Or you're just kind of in a strip mall.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
get
In a
in and
hotel.
get out of there.
It was
right?
good
I've
here,
done
too.
both.
No,
Yeah,
I
it was
loved
great
it
here.
here. It was
For sure.
awesome here.
Atlanta, Nashville. It never needs to leave Atlanta,
Just
Nashville,
rotate.
or Hoover.
Do we know how
Exactly.
Austin
Those
was?
three.
Austin was pretty legit.
It was Dallas.
It was.
Yeah, and that's a little too big. I don't know.
Too far away.
Too far away, yeah.
A lot of local TV sports directors can't send people there
Yep.
in a van that it's too far away.
That's facts.
And most of the SEC, they're sports directors on TV because that's huge for local
Exactly.
TV. And if you can't drive it, then that becomes
They're
an
not
expense
going.
that a lot of news directors will just cut, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yep. Coming up, an all-time self-awareness moment from someone in sports who is looking to win the big one in a way that Rory McIlroy just did. We'll talk a little golf. A funny quote that I thought was hilarious from this past weekend coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people. They have been here in the business since 1990. They are family owned and operated too, man. Hiller just simply takes care of their customers on every single job. I am one of their customers too, man. And they stand by their work too. Their motto is, happy you'll be or the service is free. If a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They also send a professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians to come into your home and leave it cleaner and better than they found it too. You don't have to worry about them tracking dirt in or mud, none of that. No, pros that will come to your house. They also offer you true transparency pricing. What this means is Hiller will line item every part of the job up front so homeowners can easily understand what they're paying for and why. No hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill. So if you need someone to come by and service your house, whether that be plumbing, heating and cooling, or electrical, reach out to the company I trust. You can go to happyhiller.com.
Wrapping up the show at RKW, we are brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Get you a cinnamon roll to kick off your morning. Locally owned near you. In Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, Surmount. Enjoy it. A cup of black coffee, a protein smoothie, whatever your flavor is, you'll love it. So I love self-awareness moments from pro athletes who just know, hey, let's face it, I'm good at this. Mm-hmm. I'm not as good as this guy at this. We got that from Jordan Spieth over the weekend after Scotty Scheffler just absolutely doubled up and lapped the field at the Byron Nelson. This was Jordan Spieth saying, yeah, I'm good. I'm definitely not as good as him.
Like I just mentioned, what he's doing is very inspiring. What he's been doing is inspiring given, it wasn't that long ago I was definitely better than him. And then now I'm definitely not right now. And I hate admitting that about anybody. But I just watched it, those first 2 rounds. I'm like, I got to get better. And it's very inspiring. And obviously at this event, it's this event, but it could be anywhere. I'm not jealous of him winning this event over any other. I'm jealous of anyone that wins any week. And, I want to be the person there, and that's my drive. And when he does it, it's nice because, one, I just played with him these 2 rounds, but I'm also playing with him at home. I'm like, well, I've got more of a gauge on exactly where I need to be when I'm getting to play a lot of golf with him. So he certainly has earned this one. I don't see it going anywhere but just fine for him coming down the stretch, and I'm going to be super pumped that when Scotty wins, I'm happy. It doesn't matter where it is. I love it when if I'm not going to win, I like when he wins.
It's a really nice way to be like, I really wish I was as good as him, but I'm not. I just love
That's too real to me.
Jordan will be as transparent as he gets. He's not going to sugarcoat that kind of stuff.
Hey, that's so
He's
real
one of the good
right
ones.
there.
He is. He's great.
One of the best.
As a true pro, you have them conversations with yourself, legitimately, if they're drafting somebody to come get your spot. No, I know he's not as good as me, or it's going to be a challenge this year. Hey, that is as real as it get. I expect him to go back to the basics. I expect him to just go all out on himself, especially because golf is man versus man and man versus course for the most part,
and
right?
mine versus man.
And mine, yeah, for sure. That right there is worst thing you can do as an athlete is lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Worst thing you can do.
I always love golf for that fact that it is unique because it is an individual sport that you have to find ways to motivate yourself sometimes that go outside of you. And sometimes that player, that guy, Tiger was that guy for so many years for so many players to motivate them, right? Mm-hmm. And Scotty is kind of that guy right now. So hats off to Jordan, though, just being admitting it. But I'd like to see Jordan get back to some sort of that competition because he has the ability to.
His biggest issue
playing well
would
right now,
be
too.
They play tomorrow.
No, I said he's playing well right now.
Oh, okay. His biggest issue is going to be is how hard is he going to be on himself to get back. That's where the problem comes into play.
He is very hard on himself.
He's very loud with his exclamations and 4-letter words.
He'll yell at himself while he's at the tee.
Come on, Jordan! All the time.
This is just his thing.
He's hilarious.
Okay, all right.
So by winning the Masters now, Rory McIlroy, of course, becomes the 6th player to complete the career Grand Slam. In 2 weeks, Jordan can join him. PGA, the only one that has evaded Jordan Spieth, Quail Hollow. So we could have two new career Grand Slam members at Quail Hollow next weekend.
That'd be sweet. I love it for those two guys.
Yeah.
I love both those guys.
Who is the ultimate can't win the big one athlete that you want to win the big one?
Ricky Fowler. In terms of golf. I mean, he can't.
He's on the outside looking in.
He can't. He never has won a major, I believe. I'm pretty sure. And he's really kind of went off the deep end, too, in terms of just winning.
One. He hadn't won it. Russell Westbrook.
Sure.
For me.
Oh, wow.
He is going.
He just stuck it to his old team over the weekend.
And got a tech behind it, too. He hung on the rim and everything. Russell and James Harden, I feel like fit that mold a little bit more, too. Jadeveon Clowney. And football is in that conversation now. It's going to mess around and end up being Nick Chubb if he can't find the right situation to go into, too.
There's a lot, I feel like, guys. I feel like that'd be a great exercise in the summertime months to go through.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of athletes.
We're here now.
Yeah.
I know.
Seis de Mayo.
I mean, locally, Derek's in that conversation chasing the Baltimore.
Henry.
Yeah, sure. Derrick Henry. is in that conversation chasing with Baltimore.
On the point of
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar. Sure. Even bigger. Yeah.
On the point of Scotty Scheffler being either good or bad for golf and how much he's winning. I saw Andrew Catalan actually just put out CBS. That's the most watched final round of that tournament in 8 years.
Yeah.
2.9 million, up 66% from last year.
He's good for the
Scotty sells.
He's good for the game.
No doubt.
Sales. That should be his pitch right
That
there.
should be. Nike, call me.
Right,
We're
yeah.
back at it tomorrow morning. Rhett Bryan will join us previewing rookie minicamp, voluntary minicamps continuing for the Titans. Lots of NFL topics to get to. 4 hours tomorrow morning. Join the 15,000 1045 The Zone YouTube subscribers with us tomorrow. Because, yes, that happened during our show.
Let's go.
Good people, you must remember at all times your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.